Lost Colony is the newest map to come out for Ark Survival Ascended, and this isn't just another remaster, this is actually a brand new story map that bridges the gap between Extinction and Genesis 1. Set on the other side of the earth and covered in snow, Lost Colony offers a bunch of new creatures to tame, new technology to unlock, and a ton of new features like a more fleshed out skill tree, enemy outposts you can raid or defend, and even NPCs you can recruit to your tribe, all coming to a head with a boss fight against the Lost King and his queen. So of course I will be attempting to survive 100 days in this Arctic wasteland with the goal of surviving, building a gothic mansion that may be the biggest build ever done in a 100 days video, and of course taking down the new boss. So with all of that said, let's get into it. Before I could begin my journey though, I first had to get the whole backstory of Lost Colony through a series of cutscenes. First, Helena chats with Mika about her mother Diana, Mei Ying, and a rat prime. Then it switches to an anime style cutscene of Mei Ying fighting her way into a rat prime, and my virginity slowly began to restore itself as I watched. Next, we cut back to Helena tasking me with some sort of mission to recover a codex before the Lost King rudely interrupts us and begins getting all freaky with my arm before forcing me to drink his blood. Apparently my wrist tasted a little too much like Helena though, giving me an opening to escape his palace into the cold, harsh lands of Lost Colony. When I came to again, I found myself naked and shivering in the northwest part of the map. Of course, I immediately began picking every bush I could for berries and fiber, while Helena and the Lost King both yapped on in my ear about what had just happened.
Something about a man in my ear telling me I've tasted his life force is not the start I was looking for.
But as I began picking bushes, I became distracted by a curious little compy and the new snow mechanics that came with Lost Colony.
Oh my gosh, look at the snow. Look at the snow. Look at the little compy in the snow. Look at him in the snow. Oh, that's funny. I love it. Okay.
Speaking of distractions, let me tell you about a game that I can't put down. A game that somehow scratches the same itch as survival games. Of course, the game I'm talking about is Raid Shadow Legends. As someone who plays Ark, I love that this game hits that same sort of progression loop, building power over time, upgrading your roster, and slowly turning chaos into control. Except here, your army doesn't randomly starve when you forget to fill the trough. And today I've got some amazing rewards to pass along to you in the form of epic and legendary heroes to include none other than the master assassin himself, Ezio. That's right, Assassin's Creed has arrived in Raid Shadow Legends, and just watching the announcement trailer, I couldn't help but get hyped. The visuals, the sound, the vibe, it all takes me back to 2007 when I was collecting every flag, defeating every Templar, and 100%ing the OG game. And I am so hyped to play as Ezio once more now in Raid. Ezio is a master assassin who can place a variety of debuffs to weaken his enemies before piercing their defenses with precise strikes from his hidden blade. And you can get Ezio yourself by simply logging into Raid for 7 days. Once you've recruited Ezio by logging in for 7 days, continue logging in for another 7 days to get even more rewards in the form of gear to help Ezio become an even more powerful assassin. But of course, he is not alone. You can also complete dedicated events, tournaments, and summon boosts to obtain 4 other assassins: Edward Kenway, Bayek, Basim, and Cassandra, who is the first champion in Raid's newest faction, the Argonauts, with more Argonauts coming in future updates. Of course, no heroes are complete without a big bad to fight. Residing in the event dungeon is Pontiff Augustine, a religious zealot who has discovered a piece of Eden in Teleria and is using it for his own gain. Take him down to earn time-limited chronophage gear as well as gear from other valuable sets. And to make it even better, if you unlock all the event champions during the event, you will earn an exclusive bonus reward as a special thank you. And as if you needed any other reason to join right now, I've got even more loot for you today. By simply using my code in the description or pinned comment, or by scanning my QR code on your screen, you can get 3 more legendary champions and 1 free epic. Instantly unlock a huge starter pack with the legendary support champion Narma the Returned. Reach level 15 to get an amazing epic from the Undead Horde's Mausoleum Mage. And again, log in for 7 days to claim a free legendary Ezio from Assassin's Creed. Plus, new players can pick one of 6 promo codes for a free legendary champion of their choice. Get Green Warden Ruark via promo code TreeHugger, Alice the Wanderer with Get Alice, Cheshire Cat using Kitty Cut, Sun Wukong with Monkey King, the Ultimate Death Knight using UD King, and Razelvarg with promo code Go Fast. I advise you to pick the promo code TreeHugger because he is a tank that can help you survive tough situations while you learn the game. But these champions are only available after downloading via my custom link or QR code, 48 hours after downloading with my link. If you you go directly to the App Store or use any other link to download, you won't get these packages that Raid's team gave me. So make sure to download with my link, then use the promo code in the game. And once you're in, come find me in game under the username ChipsYT and join my clan, the Bag of Chips. I hope to see you all in game. Eventually I had enough fiber to stitch together my first few pieces of cloth armor before being chased off my original spawn by a very cold looking dillo. Once clear of the dillo, I went back to gathering materials so I could craft my first stone hatchet and pickaxe, and use the pick to harvest a nearby crystal. For the crystal I will need to eventually craft a spyglass. But before long, night was already creeping in and I could already feel the chill seeping into my bones. So I crafted some torches and attached one to my belt to keep my most important asset warm and ready. But to really warm up, I needed hide to finish crafting my cloth set. So with spears in hand, I returned to face off with that pesky dillo I'd seen before. But what started as a single dillo turned into an all-out war with an army of dillos and compy.
Oh my gosh, there's 4 of them. Your boy ain't taking, oh, we're taking them out. And the baby. Yeah, fight each other while I fight you. Oh gosh, that's not good, that's not good, that's not good, that's not good, that's not good. Oh, we're dead, we're dead, we're dead, we're dead. We're not dead yet, we're not dead yet. Oh, we made it. Holy crap. Oh my gosh, I have to eat, I have to eat, I have to eat. I'm gonna die from starvation. 0.7 health left. Oh, baby. Once the snow settled, I managed to get a campfire down to begin cooking what little meat I had to recover some health. Then I went out searching for the corpses of my slayed enemies, but the snow was so deep that I couldn't find their bodies. So I kept warm by the fire, waiting for meat to cook and my health to recover. With my belly full, it was time to get back to business, starting with crafting a bola, which I would use to tie up a nearby Phiomia to cut down and cut up for plenty of hide. From there, I crafted the spyglass I had gathered the crystal for, and then used my new hide to finish off my cloth set, and to craft a few more bolas. Still in the crafting mood, I threw together a primitive bow and as many stone arrows as I could. With my new gear in hand, I continued my adventure, and before long, I found myself a Veilwind. So I approached it slowly, only to realize I was trying to tame its clone. I approached the actual Veilwind, and just like that, it was tamed by simply claiming it. So with an army of murder foxes now on the follow, I ventured inland in search of other tames, only to have a Per Lvl find me first. Oh! You wanna help? You wanna help? You wanna help? Nope, you don't wanna help? Okay. Well, so I respawned and began making my way back, testing out my army of cloned foxes on anything that stood in my way. Oh my gosh, they're gonna shred it. Oh my god. It was like level 25, to be fair, but I love these things. What an early game beast to have. Eventually, I made it back to my bag, and with the Per Lvl nowhere to be found, I recovered my gear. The day wasn't over though. I kept adventuring, still searching for a decent place to settle. Meanwhile, my fox army was mowing down everything in its path. While searching, I stumbled on a batch of rich metal veins and gathered what I could carry for smelting down in the near future, only to find that one of the things I need metal for was already in my possession. My furry little friend had looted me a metal hatchet from one of its victims. Feeling accomplished, I continued my march, only to have a theory blocking my path towards a better future. I mean, I'm just that guy. I'm just that guy with it. Knowing the Veilwind couldn't actually die in companion mode, I decided to put my fox army to the test. Oh, they're on him. Oh, there's 2 of them. Oh, this is bad. Oh, this is actually really bad. Oh, they got one. They got one. Come on, guys, you got it. Yeah, they took them both down. The next day started with a raptor who clearly missed what my fox had just done to that pair of Theory, but the excitement didn't end there. As I was recovering from the scuffle, I spotted an even stronger Veilwind, this one being a level 135. Now, I had a Veilwind already, but I wasn't about to pass up a chance for an even higher level one, so I left my original fox behind just for a moment and snuck up and tamed the level 135. Yes, a 135! Now that's what I'm talking about, dude. Look at that fella. In a last-ditch effort to remain my companion, the original fox offered me a metal pickaxe it had looted from another body. But still, I moved on with my new fox, having the old one simply follow me until it just sort of fell through the map. Look, our guy's in the mesh. Isn't that fun? Moving on from our breakup, I spent the rest of the day exploring, hoping to find a good place to set up an initial base. After a while, I stumbled upon a little ledge that overlooked a lake and seemed to be mostly safe. That is, of course, after I dealt with a Spino that was guarding the lake. Yeah, boys, alright. Okay, this is it. This is where we're going to set up. We'll set up right here. With the Spino down, I began setting up camp when another large pest would wander over to investigate, this time a Dinotherium. But like many before it, it was no match for my overpowered fox army. With the pest cleared out, I placed down a large storage chest to keep all my loot, gathered more stone to craft a forge, and used it to get all the metal I'd gathered cooking up. And I placed down a few mortar and pestles and a bed to finish off the day. The next morning, I headed back out for more metal and fur I would need for making some of the new Arctic armor. But in doing so, I found my fox's one weakness: water. My poor little pal fell in and couldn't get itself up and over the ice to escape, and when all its splashing drew the attention of a nearby Daedon, I had no choice but to flee. Thankfully, the pig continued chasing me, and I eventually found that it had gotten itself stuck in the water, allowing me to slowly take it down from afar with arrows. But the celebration didn't last long. When I returned to where I had left my fox, it was not only in the water, it was buried in the map itself. Thankfully, since the fox was in companion mode, a quick relog allowed it to teleport back to my location. And from all its battles, it had a huge stock of meat on it that was nearly ready to spoil. So I quickly split as much as I could in my inventory to spoil it all for making narcotics in the near future. First though, I continued my journey for metal and fur when I would spot my first moss chops of the playthrough, which of course wanted the typical taming food.
What do you got? What do you want? 125 and it wants a giant bee honey. You gotta be kidding me! How does this keep happening? You can't keep getting away with this.
From there, I continued looking for an Ovis for easy wool for some time, and while out here gathered some more metal with my new pickaxe, before returning home to gather some narco berries the old-fashioned way, making what narcotics I could, and using those to craft some trank arrows in case I should find something worth taming. Then I crafted a smithy to place down and used to craft myself a crossbow, and it was back out looking for tames. Eventually, I spotted a nice raptor giving chase to an Equus, but unfortunately, it made the mistake of attacking my fox, and before I could even react, they had shredded it.
Alright, well, that wasn't meant to be either. It was meant to be, it'd be, baby, just let it be.
My inability to find anything worth taming continued into the next morning, but I did find an Ovis that would give me some fur I needed to craft some of the Arctic armor set. Then my luck turned when I finally found a wolf who was all alone and worthy of taming. But then my luck turned right back to its usual state when a level 135 bison rolled in out of nowhere to completely obliterate the wolf. I wasn't about to let that slide as I sent my foxes after the bison, shredding it into oblivion. With the wolf dead and still no berry gatherers in sight, I decided to settle for taming a high-level Megaloceros, both for future thatch gathering, but also just to have something to get around on. That's when an army of ants who were somehow surviving the cold of the Arctic decided to show up to complicate the tame, leading to me accidentally landing one extra shot.
Oh no, I hit it after. Oh, you stupid ants! It happened because of you! I did it because of you, because you're freaking. Ugh.
But it didn't end there. Wolves showed up, eager to make me their lunch. In a true act of heroism, my fox saved me just in time, proving yet again that my survival is 100% due to my overpowered little army of murder fox.
You monsters! You're actual beasts, dude. Holy crap. They handled it just in time.
Next, I sent my army of fox after a nearby Carno I was worried would attack my unconscious deer, but in a surprising turn of events, the Carno's bleed actually finished off my fox after it had already fallen. I couldn't help but feel bad for my little fox, but at least with it being in companion mode, it would return to me in time. The heartbreak of losing my fox would soon be soothed by the sight of another high-level deer, this one being a level 140. And this time I got it bullied and knocked out cleanly without any outside interference and quickly fed it some berries to begin the taming. But I was still one level short of actually unlocking its saddle, so I did what any survivor in need of levels does. I crafted a few cooking pots to get me the last level and unlocked the saddle. I needed a smithy to craft it though, so I returned to base to use mine for both the saddle as well as what few pieces of Arctic armor I could manage. And while here, I quickly made some cementing paste that I needed to craft a shovel, permanently ending my constant need for water. And on my way back to the deer, I found and took out another Ovis, giving me enough fur to eventually finish my new armor set. On my way back, I stopped and laid in the snow to rest for stamina, and just as I did, the deer finished taming. Now I had to mad dash back to get to it before something else did. Thankfully, nothing took interest in it, and I made it back in time to slap the saddle on, finally giving me some much needed mobility. I rode back home feeling unstoppable, right up until I noticed a Spino standing nearby just watching me, not attacking, not moving, just observing, likely stuck in the ice. I ignored it and focused on crafting the rest of my Arctic armor, and then named my new deer Bucky. Now riding Bucky, I continued to scout for other tames and finally found my first berry gatherer that I could actually tame, in the form of a parasaur.
Parasaur, 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 parasaur. Ooh, 115, not bad.
I hit it with a bola, got it knocked out, and handpicked enough berries to tame it. While waiting on it to tame, I went ahead and crafted its saddle, and once it stood up as the newest member of my team, I immediately put it to work gathering more berries. But as quickly as it joined my team, it nearly left as a pack of wolves jumped us on the way home. That awakened something inside Bucky, sending him into full Winter Soldier mode.
Oh, Bucky, we're gonna die, buddy. Wait, Bucky! Bucky, you savage! Bucky! Bucky, you absolute monster. Bucky, who do you get off thinking you are, buddy? Acting like that. The Winter Soldier over here.
No other creature dared challenge Bucky as we made it safely back to base, and I quickly began turning all the newly farmed berries and spoiled meat from earlier into narcotics. While those brewed, I used my new parasaur to clear more bushes around my base for more narcoberries to add even more narcotics to the order. I started the next day off crafting a whole stack of arrows to dip in my growing supply of narcotics to make my first proper haul of sleepy sticks, and with more than enough arrows, I decided to take my chances on the Spino, who seemed stuck. The beast truly was immobilized, and before long, it was passed out.
And is he above the... Oh, no, he's not. Oh, he's definitely not above the water. No, he's not. Definitely not above the water. Oh, well. Hey! Nope, it counts. It's above the water somehow. It looks under the water, but it's not. So we're going to take it. This Spino is above the water, and we've got it. Nice.
While the Spino napped, I did some naming. I named the parasaur Furless Tauntaun. And I named my Valwyn Glitch. I then ran around the surrounding area looking for Ovis so I could get some mutton for the Spino, but I had apparently cleared out the Ovis population in my quest for fur. Eventually, I had to accept I wasn't going to find any and headed back to the Spino to feed it narcotics for keeping it asleep. While back out looking for something to feed the Spino, temptation appeared directly in front of my face. A wild level 150 fox. Something I would have to tame, but for now, I was already committed to the Spino tame. Settling for prime meat, I sent my fox army after a Diplo, putting it through an artic blender and securing the prime I needed. I returned with it to feed the Spino, which instantly jumped to about 75% tame. With the Spino taming, I set my sights back on that 150 Valwyn, which of course meant I had to leave Glitch at base, unaware he was about to be replaced. I snuck off back up the snow-covered hillside to my foxy mistress, and with some quick seduction, it joined the team. With my newest fox following behind, I returned to check on the Spino, only to find the prime meat was about to spoil, leaving me to rush back to Glitch for some regular meat. Thankfully, I got back to it in time, and before long, it was finished taming. All that was left now was to convince the Spino to get itself unstuck from the ice. It took some convincing, but eventually it did, and it now stood proudly over my base as the newest member of the team. With that tame complete, I named my newest fox Icicle. And then I headed back out into the cold, this time up the hill some, with my goal being to find a flyer that could help me get a better view of the map and maybe find somewhere a little safer to live. While searching, I spotted something simply majestic, the brand new Solwyn, which is one of the evolved forms of the Valwyn. Unfortunately, it was not as impressed with me.
Ooh! Look at that! Is this gonna attack me? Oh, there's two of them. Oh, it is definitely going to attack me. Oh my gosh.
Unable to find anything on this mountain range, I headed back towards base where I spotted a Spino that was not on my team getting dangerously close to my base. When it did eventually attack, it sent everything at my base into a panic. Thankfully, my Spino took care of it, but it was becoming clear this area was not safe at all. But I would completely ignore how unsafe my base was for the moment and instead headed back out in search for a flyer. But instead of a bird, my search turned up a dung beetle, the poop-loving, fertilizer-making absolute unit. Naturally, I gave Bucky a little kick to the side to get him to poop and fed his dropping to the beetle to start the taming process. It took a little bit of convincing and a good amount of running around, but eventually Bucky was ready to poop once more, and with his latest gift, the dung beetle was tamed. I scooped it up to have it tag along for my mission to find myself a flyer. And find a flyer I did, but the only problem was it was very, very high up in the sky. This would become a reoccurring theme for me, as pretty much every flyer on the map for some reason just flies straight up to the skybox. Apparently it's some sort of bug with the map or something of that sort. But that wouldn't stop me. I continued making my way up the mountain in hopes of reaching one when once again a Purlovia would dismount me from my deer.
Yep, saw that coming. Yeah, you guys want to get that thing?
Still alive and still determined, I pushed on, doing everything I could to scale the sheer cliff face, determined to get myself some wings. I climbed higher and higher into the next morning when I would make a fatal mistake. One missed jump landed my deer into a weird crack where it was completely stuck, and once it finally wiggled free, the game treated it like it had fallen from an extreme height, nearly killing it. My deer was spit out over the mountain, and so there I was plummeting down the mountainside in complete shock at what had just happened. So much though that I didn't even bother trying to dismount my deer when it finally landed and was dead on impact. But the fun didn't end there. My fox somehow meshed its way into the crystal I had landed on, and to make matters worse, there was a Utyrannus doing everything it possibly could to reach me. Thankfully, the Uti couldn't quite make it to me, but there was still no way I was making it all the way back to my base on foot without dying. So I did the only thing I could. I crafted myself a parachute, leaped off the mountainside, and began the slow flight down to my base. I landed just a little short of my base, but thankfully my fox had found its way out of the crystal and back to my side, only to be jumped by a Daedon before I had the chance to clone it, and without its friends, it stood no chance against the pig. Icicle didn't go down without a fight though, freezing the Daedon just enough to slow it down, allowing me to make a run for it. I crafted another parachute and floated down to the final stretch back to my base. But my string of bad luck wouldn't end there. When I arrived back to my base, I was soon greeted by another Spino in the lake and another Uti that had apparently made its way down from the mountainside. Every creature on my team fought to defend my small patch of land, and the dung beetle I had just tamed was quickly dead, followed soon after by Glitch, my other Veilwind. When the dust had finally settled, all that remained was my Parasaur and my Spino. Almost 10 days into my journey, and I had nearly nothing to my name. Determined to salvage something from the wreckage, I found a mid-level frog and knocked it out, grabbed some meat off the Spino to feed it, and the frog tamed right away. After making some pace, I crafted the frog saddle, and just like that, I was mobile again, and honestly, more mobile than ever before, which was good because it was definitely time to move out of here with or without a flyer. For that, I would need to craft a few cryos, so I gathered some oil from rocks in my lake, as well as crystal and obsidian. I started the next day crafting some spark powder and cementing paste, the final materials I needed for making myself a fabricator. Then I placed the fabricator down and immediately went right back to making even more paste. I could have gone hunting bugs with the frog, but honestly, after everything that's happened, I just didn't have the mental strength to go looking for more danger. So instead, I brute forced it the slow, miserable way and combined the paste with obsidian to make some hard polymer. With that done, I crafted a few cryopods and sealed my Spino and Parasaur safely inside. Next, I repaired and packed up everything in my base that my frog could carry and hopped off in search of somewhere safer to live. Naturally, the Ark disagreed. Barely up the hill from my base, a Per Lvl struck again.
Little path we saw earlier. Oh, Baryonyx. Oh, come on! Are you? Oh, wow, Per Lvl.
Thankfully, I was able to scramble away from it and eventually remembered I had a Spino in my pocket who would make short work of the Per Lvl and a Baryonyx who were both attacking my frog. Before continuing, I sat around feeding my frog meat to heal it up, and as I did, I spotted something flying high above the mountainside, a high-level Pteranodon.
Can we get to it? Can we get to that?
Once again, far out of reach and mocking me. So my search for a new home continued, and nearby I found a small cave that for a second made me think my search was already over. But much like the lake near my old spot, this cave was filled with water and ice that I knew I would be constantly getting stuck in. So instead of living here, I made the executive decision to leave my Parasaur behind instead for safekeeping. Then I loaded everything my frog was carrying into my fox companion, cryoed up the frog, and put it in the fox as well. With my fox now carrying everything I owned, I swallowed my implant, allowing me to respawn in the southern part of the map with hopes of a safer start. And of course, my fox companion would teleport with me, all of my gear and tames still in his inventory. Back on my frog, I began searching this new area, looking for either somewhere safe to settle down or a flyer to get me airborne. And after searching for some time, I finally found a few snow owls that were actually on the ground, and not wanting to risk them flying off in the time it would take me to build a trap, I just started firing. But the owl stood strong, and eventually my crossbow snapped. I managed to escape the owl long enough to place down my smithy and repair my bow, but by then the owl had gotten into a fight with a bear and died. So I kept searching and eventually spotted more flyers who again were way up above the mountains, meaning my only option was to try scaling the cliffs on my frog in hopes of reaching them.
Oh gosh. Look at how high up it's going. Actually insane. Oh, the Origin's up there too now. Oh gosh!
Soon after escaping that mana, I spotted another one that I hoped for a second might be stuck on the side of the mountain, and being a high level, I had to test it out. It wasn't stuck in the slightest, but after chasing me for a short time, it just sorta started floating into outer space. I pushed onward and finally made it to the top of the mountain, where I managed to land the bola on the Pteranodon just before it could fly away.
Oh! I don't even care the level, we got one, baby! Oh, that's not good. One shot and it went down. Oh, 35. Oh, no. Oh, no.
It was only a level 35, which was terrible, but at this point, I was willing to settle. Then, while hanging around working on the tame, one of Ark's most hated tames came to greet me, a Microraptor.
Oh, come on. Crap, crap, crap.
I managed to survive its stun and take it out with my frog, but by the time I did, I realized something had come along and killed my Pteranodon. But I refused to leave empty-handed and eventually found a mid-level Argentavis and knocked it out without a trap.
Argent just sitting here. Level 30, terrible, but we'll take it.
To speed things up, I grabbed a baby patchy rhino for prime meat and fed it to the RG. The tame finished up cleanly, and after crafting a few more cooking pots, I finally leveled up enough to unlock the Argentavis saddle. There was just one problem. I was about 15 chitons short of making it, so I used my Spino to wipe out a few Carnos for Keratin, but still I was a few short. But just then I noticed something was attacking my newly tamed Argentavis. I returned to find a Carno go into town, and after taking it out along with everything else in the area, I had enough chitin and Keratin. Wasting no time, I crafted up the saddle as the next day began, and finally I had flight.
Oh baby, we're airborne. Look at that. You love to see it.
Using my brand new Argent, I immediately began scouting out other Argents that had flown to the top of the map for something better, and found a level 140 that would make for a great replacement. So I gathered materials and crafted the pieces I would need to make an Argent trap designed by the trap master himself, Captain Fat Dog. You can find the link to his trap video in the video description. Once it was built, I got the 140 Argent trapped and knocked out without any issues.
There we go, and she's down.
To make sure the tame went smoothly, I took out another baby patchy rhino for prime meat. Then, just to be absolutely certain, I also took out a baby monkey for a little bit more. Everything was going perfectly until one of those dirty manas showed up to ruin the tame. I thought surely it was gone after watching it yeet itself into the next area code.
He's trying to attack that. Oh, buddy, goodbye. See ya.
But it somehow made it all the way back to try ruining the tame once more.
No way! No, you bum! Of all the things you could have gone after, of all the things you could go after, that's the thing you choose, you spazzy weirdo. Get out of here. Just stay away. Man, it just ruined that tame. That Argent is ruined now. And it's not even going to stay away. It's going to make its way back.
But after luring the mana away, the Argent finished taming, and somehow the mana never managed to land a blow on it.
Oh, it didn't get hit. Oh, thank goodness. Oh, thank goodness it didn't actually get hit. Oh man, that's lucky. That dude is still just over there freaking out.
With no hesitation, I swapped out my old RG for the new one immediately. No emotional attachment, no goodbye. This was an upgrade, and survival doesn't care about feelings. With my new RG in tow, I took back to the skies, this time not just exploring, but actively searching for a permanent base location, somewhere safer and more stable. Early into the next day, I'd made my way to a large cavern that had plenty of great spots for building, but it was also home to a very loud waterfall and a whole colony of Desmodus that could become an issue at any moment. One of them, though, could be good for a future tame. Just above the cavern was a large plateau that could make for another good spot, and nearby was a very nice Krylophosaurus that I might have to come back for one day. But first, there was one other spot I wanted to check out. I would just have to spend basically the whole day flying to it. When I did finally arrive, I decided that this would be the spot where my final base would be. Behind all these trees is a pretty nice large plateau that I could use for building a nice gothic themed base. But possibly the even better part about the spot is the small cavern that sits just below the hilltop. With nothing dangerous spawning inside, this area will be perfect for living in temporarily and for eventually keeping all of my tames. So I started getting out what few tames I had left and began getting down a new temporary pad to work off of. This would be the moment things finally began to stabilize. Then another Managarmr showed up, somehow managing to make its way into the cave, which actually made it much easier to deal with. Still, it just proved that no area on this map is truly safe, but this was probably the best it was gonna get. So I continued setting up by finally getting a preserving made down and crafted some spark powder to put in it for preserving future perishables. With things briefly calm, I handled some name assignments. The frog officially became Mango, and my better of the two Argents was named Hershey. Next, I began gathering materials to craft a drop trap for more taming, when naturally a Rex would come plummeting off the cliffside to say hello.
Hello, you are not welcome here. I did not invite you to come to my base.
After dealing with it, I went back to work, crafting everything I needed for the trap, and got it set up within my little cave. With it ready, I headed back out, now in search of some harvesting tames, when instead I spotted something very impressive just outside my base.
Oh, you love to see it. We'll have to keep an eye on you, girl.
I decided to come back for it later though and continue my search when I would also spot a majestic new dragon, the Orlax. This one was a high level 2, but I am not the slightest bit ready to tame one right now. As my search continued, I noticed a Rex being absolutely mauled by some woolly rhinos, and of course, it was the 150 that I had plans for taming in the future.
Oh no! Wait. No! The 150 Rex got absolutely murked. Oh, buddy, how could you let that happen to yourself? Unless that's another one. No, that's got to be the same one. Oh, man, that's sad. Oh.
Moving on, I did eventually find a high-level Doid. The only problem was it was in the middle of a fight with a T-Rex. I swooped in to save the little wrecking ball, but it was already pretty beat up and I would have to wait to knock it out. So I took it home and dropped it in the trap to let it begin recovering. I headed back out to continue my search the following day and eventually stumbled upon a really cool looking cave area, but the real prize was the Anki waiting at the entrance.
Oh my gosh, what is this? What have I just found? 150 Anki! Oh, that's what we found, baby! We found a 150 Anki! What is this? Oh my gosh, this is a cool area, but I'm just here for the Anki. We'll come back to find what that's going on about, what all that's about later. For now, we're taking this Anki.
So I scooped it up, flew it back to base, and knocked it out. With it snoozing comfortably, I repurposed part of its trap into a smaller one and dropped the Doid back inside. I then began trying to knock it out, but it hadn't healed up as much as I thought, and eventually balled up from all the damage. So I spent the rest of the day out searching again, and finally, towards the end of the night, I spotted another one worth taming. I hauled it back to my base first thing next morning and got it knocked out without any issues. While it was down, I headed back out looking for a new berry gathering tame, but instead I found more penguins, which meant more organic polymer. Not what I came for, but absolutely not something I was going to ignore. Berry tame luck was non-existent, but I did manage to find a good replacement deer.
Oh, you gotta love it when you get what you want. Hey, whoop. There it is. We'll take you instead. Might not be getting a berry gatherer, but we're getting a high-level deer for thatch gathering.
I dropped it off at base for later and went out to handpick berries for taming the Ankylosaurus. And while picking away, I found a very interesting plant that actually gave meat instead of berries.
Yeah, I'm getting meat when that plant is giving me meat. What the heck? I was literally pulling somebody's meat.
Once I had enough berries, I fed the Yankee and it tamed up right away. So I hurried to make it saddle and began using it for gathering berries instead. And with its help, I quickly had enough to begin taming the Doid as well. The deer was still waiting to be tamed though, so I rebuilt another trap, dropped it inside, and after a few quick shots, it was down as well. And with both those down, I named the Ankylosaurus Cool Ranch. From there, I headed to a nearby lake that seems to be the only place beavers can spawn on this map, and thankfully, after a short search, I found one that was worth taming.
I had 100. I saw one on it. 140! Yeah! You love to see it. It's just spinning around in a circle. Oh, nice, dude. Holy crap, the second beaver we check is a 140.
I hauled it home and dropped it in the trap with the unconscious deer for the moment. But before taming the beaver, there was an item from the new DLC that I wanted to test out with it, the medical stand. To craft it, I would first have to craft a blood syringe and draw 4 packs of blood for myself, but with my arm dripping, I got it crafted. Soon after that, the deer finished taming, and almost right after, the Doid finished taming as well. Then it was time for the beaver. I loaded it with arrows until it finally passed out, fed it berries, and set up the medical station to drip feed it narcotics.
Yeah, stick it in him, buddy. That's hilarious. What the heck, bro? I'm pumping him with juice. Boy's on the IV.
That way, I didn't have to sit there babysitting it, and honestly, this might be one of the best new items Ark has added in a long time. It is an absolute game changer. With the beaver on the drip, I crafted the saddles for both the Doid and the deer, named the deer Bucky's Revenge, and named the Doid Spearmint. Using Bucky's Revenge, I went to the top portion of my future base and cleared out all the trees so I could get a good look at my new land. Then with the resource, I crafted a whole bunch of wooden spike balls and used them to craft a wall of spikes, effectively sealing off the cliff from any land-based wild creatures. Continuing the cleanup, I carried Spearmint in my Argent's Claws to clear out some of the stone, followed by Cool Ranch to clear out the metal rocks. I got all that metal cooking and then turned my attention to organization, crafting and setting up what visual storage I could manage for now. Visual storage is a mod I use in all my playthroughs that basically allows you to have separate storage bins for all your different resources, and it allows you to remote craft things using the resources in the bins. So I dumped all the stone I had gathered into the single bin I got down, and then used that stone along with some of the other resources to craft a handful of stone gate frames and gates for trapping more tames. While I was out looking for new tames, I ran into some revenants, and I figured I'd try taking them out to build up my companion buff for evolving my Veilwind. Unfortunately, as they often do, my plan failed miserably, and my Veilwind was dead once again. Still, moving forward, I kept scouting, and that's when I spotted it, a level 150 Thyla.
150 Thyla! Oh, you kinda have to, don't you? You kinda have to do it, don't you? A 50 Thyla. Oh, it's begging for it. It's bugging me.
I threw down my gates, and to my surprise, I trapped the kitty cat without any hiccups.
No way. We did it. We did it. Look at that. Perfectly trapped. Like, no complications at all. Job well done. Okay.
Before I could celebrate though, I noticed a Yeti nearby, and there was no chance I was risking that thing wandering over and ruining the tame. So I baited the Yeti off a cliff and watched it disappear into the distance. Back at the Thyla, I loaded it up with enough arrows to knock it out, and while the drug sunk into its system, I returned home to retrieve my medical stand for my now tamed beaver, who I of course named Slippery. I then hauled the medical stand back and set it up next to the unconscious Thyla, ready to keep it under without babysitting it. Then I went out looking for mutton to tame it, but after struggling to find any for some time, I decided to just settle for prime meat, when luck would turn my way.
I don't want to just straight up. Oh, look at that. Oh, baby. The luck. Oh, my gosh. Come on, baby. We're going home to our little Thyla friend.
I hauled the little sheep back to where the Thyla was sleeping and harvested it there before setting up several campfires I would need for cooking it all. As the next day began, I did exactly that, searing the fresh lamb meat over the fire, and once enough was done, I fed it to the Thyla to begin the tame. And then I waited, which apparently did not sit too well with a nearby drakeling, who began stalking me as I watched the tame bar slowly tick up, not attacking me, but rather just lurking overhead. Feeling uncomfortable, I decided to leave the drakeling and Thyla to search nearby for a potential snow owl tame. But after having no luck, I returned to the now tamed Thyla and named her Kitty Softpaws. And when I checked her stats, she had a whopping 53 points in melee.
53 in melee. Yeah, baby. That's not really that great on a Thyla because the bleed damage is going to do the bleed damage. But you know what? 53 melee. We take that and we leave with it. Holy crap. Too bad it wasn't in health.
But securing the new powerful predator came at the cost of almost all my narcotics, so I spent the rest of the day gathering all the bushes from above my cave with my Anki for more narco berries. With more preparation on my mind, I started the next day gathering more wood with Slippery and used it to craft and then place more visual storage bins for my other key materials. And in all the running around, I managed to accidentally complete a skill task, which made me realize I had 3 unspent skill points that I decided to put into Experienced Killer. Next, I gathered some quick fiber and crafted 3 pet displays, which completed another task line and handed me even more skill points that I would use on the first stage of the Mounted Opportunist skill. With skills sorted, I spent some time gathering more meat with Hershey, and once back home, I split up all the stacks to spoil it faster. Then I crafted a few more mortar and pestles to expand my narcotics factory and used Coal Ranch to quickly gather more flint, setting the stage for another large crafting session in hopes of gaining a few levels. But before crafting anything, I would fly halfway across the map to the nearest explorer note to boost my level gains during the crafting. And of course, while here, I finally spotted high-level snow owls worth taming.
145 snow owl? Oh, we coming back, baby. I'll be back for you, girl. Stay sexy. Just stay sexy for me. There's so many snow owls over here. 135. This is where all the snow owls are. This is where all the high-level snow owls are. They're all over here.
But ignoring them for now, I grabbed the note and flew home as fast as possible, knowing I had a limited window to squeeze every ounce of value out of it. Once I got back, I used my visual storage system to quickly spread all my narco berries and spoiled meat evenly across the mortar and pestles, and started mass crafting narcotics and cooking pots like a man possessed. By the time the XP boost expired, I had made it all the way to level 73. So with the boost gone, I crafted more arrows and immediately headed back towards the snow owls, turning the arrows into tranks along the way. And on the way, I stopped to harvest some strange plants that apparently give polymer. I didn't question it though, I simply took note of it for future polymer harvesting. When I finally made it back to the snow owls, things got even better. Not only were they still there, but I also spotted a level 140 mana Garmer hanging around the same area.
Come on, give me his level before he... Oh, 140 mana too? Oh, there's a freaking snow owl and a mana that we want to tame over here. Oh, baby, baby, baby. Baby, baby, baby. Baby, baby, baby. Alright, snow owl first because it's easier.
But the owl comes first. I set up a simple gate trap on the roof of a large structure and began trying to lure one of the owls in, but the stubborn bird was having none of it, and every failed attempt increased the chance of the mana showing up to ruin everything. Still, I continued trying to trap it into the next morning, and finally it went smooth. The snow owl was trapped and ready to be knocked out.
Got him! Ha sucker! Yo, that was smooth. That was actually smooth.
I began putting it down, but all of its screeching and squirming drew the attention of the nearby mana, and it pounced in mid-knockout to ruin everything.
We literally knew this was going to happen. I knew this mana would find its way to me eventually. Sure enough, he has arrived.
I drew it away from the owl and eventually shook it off, then hustled back to the owl to finish knocking it out. With the bird asleep, I needed prime meat to tame it, so I spent some time hunting around until I found a baby woolly rhino, harvested it, and finally delivered the good stuff to the owl. And since it had already starved some, it tamed instantly. On the way home, I detoured back to the same cave where I originally found the 150 Anki, because if there were bugs anywhere on this map, it was going to be there. And sure enough, I found them. So I went full exterminator mode until I killed enough to get a healthy pile of chitin I needed for making the owl saddle. Once back home, I crafted the snow owl saddle and officially named the bird OVHO. Next, I crafted a thyla saddle, then cranked out a massive batch of arrows and turned them all into tranks. I made some spare crossbows as well, because what I had planned next was gonna take more than one. Fully stocked, I headed out to tame an Oceodon I'd spotted while taming the snow owl, except I realized I'd forgotten my thyla, who I planned on running around on while shooting the beast. By the time I reached the Oceodon, the situation had deteriorated fast. It was already fighting half the biome. I tried helping, healing it with OVHO like some frantic field medic, but it wasn't doing much at all. And then the beast died.
Oh, he just died. Yep. Well, that sucks. Alright, where's that mana we came to tame earlier?
But refusing to accept defeat, I pivoted hard and locked onto a backup prize, the level 140 mana garmer that had been pestering me the day prior. I chased it, lost it, found it again, lost it again, questioned my sanity, and then finally towards the end of the day, I managed to pull off the perfect trap.
Did we do it? Did we do it? Oh my gosh, we did it. We actually did it. Clean as day. Clean as day. We did it. No way. Who knew I had it in me?
So with the 140 mana neatly trapped, I started knocking it out, which was much easier said than done, as it jumped all over the trap, making it hard to land a shot. Especially when a flock of vultures showed up to attack me for no apparent reason, nearly killing me before I managed to get them distracted with a terror bird instead.
Oh, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die to a flippin' vulture. Are you actually kidding me? And I'm starving. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna actually die out here because of a flippin' vulture. Before I can knock this man out. Oh my gosh.
And then as I sat there bleeding to death, I was reminded that I was in fact in the possession of a snow owl, who in fact has the ability to heal me with ease. She patched me up as my thyla handled all the pests, and I returned to the mana to knock it out, only to have disaster strike.
There we go. Oh. 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 Oh, where'd it go? I can hear it. Oh, it's here. But it's not here.
Left desperate to find any way possible to recover my sunken mana, I flew out of my owl, hoping that leaving render would cause the mana to reappear above the snow. And that is when I spotted something even better, a 150 Oceodon.
150! Yes! Oh my gosh! A 150! Holy crap! What is that thing?
But first, I did want to see if my trick worked, which of course it didn't. Even though I could even heal the mana with my snow owl, it was still unreachable below the snow. So I pivoted back to potentially taming the Oceodon, but the area around it was absolute chaos, packed to the brim with creatures that would want to kill me and the Oceodon alike. There was simply no chance I was gonna tame this thing right now. Then I noticed something else. One of the manas that had been pestering it was also a level 150.
That was a product of like, it's just so choppy. Oh, there's the... Oh, that's got to be the high level one. Bro, it is so beat up. I don't think I could even knock it out. It's so beat up. Like, not to mention the fact that I can't do it because of this stupid thing. 150 mana, what? What are the chances? Oh.
but it had taken a beating from dive bombing the many apex predators in the area, so I tried with everything I had to heal it with my snow owl, desperate to keep it alive. But when more vultures showed up to attack me from merely existing, I lost track of the mana. I wasn't sure if it had died or if it simply jumped across the map, but it was nowhere to be found. On the bright side though, I found the 150 Ocelot again, and this time it was up a hill, somewhat isolated. I thought this would finally be my chance to start the tame. So first I tried healing with my snow owl, but again it seemed to have very little impact. Figuring it wasn't going to get much better, I went ahead and got Kitty Softpaws out to try running around tranking the massive beast from the cat's back, which went about as well as you would imagine. One wrong move and I was immediately rolled up in the Ocelot's ball of goo, leaving me no choice but to fight back in an attempt to free myself, resulting in Kitty Softpaws killing the already weak Ocelot. Frustrated, I returned home to repair all my broken gear, but decided I wasn't about to give up on taming one of these beasts that easily, as I headed back out to the northern part of the map in hopes of finding one in a more peaceful situation. I searched the rest of the day, finding no Ocelots even remotely worth taming, but being I was already up north, I decided to make a small detour back to where I started, with the goal of being to rescue my long forgotten Parasaur. And as it would turn out, I showed up just in time, as the Parasaur was under attack by a Purlovia. Oh no, Furless Tauntaun! Furless Tauntaun, no! 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 Oh, it's a Purlovia! Ah! Ah! Get him, dial up! Get him, dial up! Oh my gosh. Get out of here, Furless Tauntaun! Oh, good job, Kitty Softpaws. Good job, Kitty Softpaws. With the rescue complete, I continued my hunt for an Ocelot when I would spot a level 135 Solwyn, which I briefly considered playing the game with to get its pristine Vulpite, but ultimately decided to pass on it for now. Instead, I continued my search, checking tons of Megatheriums as well, hoping to find a decent one for chitin gathering, and finally, I found a level 135. So using Oviho, I froze the sloth where it stood, and quickly dropped a gate trap down around it. With it trapped, I loaded it with enough trank arrows to knock it out. Of course, I needed something good for taming it, so I flew out on my owl, and after a very long search, I used its heat vision to locate an ovis for mutton. I took the fresh meat back to the sloth to feed it, and the tame was underway. I would just stick around with the Megatherium into the next morning until it finally finished taming, and with that done, I headed south, still in search of a good level Ocelot. But again, I scoured the tundra, checking every miserable frozen corner, and found nothing. So I finally gave up and flew home, deciding to pivot into productivity instead of wasting precious time. I grabbed Mango the Frog and Hershey the Argent and headed back to the cave where I'd originally found Cool Ranch. Using Mango, I began harvesting bugs on the ground for cementing paste I would need for the Megatherium saddle, before I remembered I could simply set it to aggressive and carry it with my Argent, allowing it to aggro to any bugs and auto-harvest them for paste for the rest of the night. I stuck around the cave into the early parts of the next day, wandering deeper inside in hopes of finding some loot drops to improve my gear game. Unfortunately, the drops didn't seem to be spawning. While I was here, I figured I'd scout the Desmodus population as well, just in case I got lucky and found a stealable baby. I found no baby, but I did find both a 140 and 150 that could be potential tames down the line. 85, 150, oh, there's a 150! Oh man, there's just so many though, and there's no babies. So after giving up on loot that apparently doesn't exist, I headed home and grabbed Cool Ranch the Yankee for another metal run. I stayed out for a while, swinging, smashing, doing full-blown extraction until the mountainside was bare of metal. Back at base, I went to load it into the forge, only to realize the metal I needed was already cooked in the forge. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh, I didn't realize I had still been cooking more. So I put the already cooked metal to use and crafted a saddle for my new Megatherium, naming him Bug Basher. With him saddled, I went out gathering fiber until I accidentally hit a wild fox I mistook for my own, and chaos broke out. Oh, sorry. Wait, what? Oh, that wasn't mine. Oh, defend me, you dummy! Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Would you please defend me from dying to this fox? I'm gonna die. I require help. Wait, did they leave me alone? Bro, the freeze on those things it lasts so long.
Oh, they killed it. Nice, good job.
As the next day began, I cryoed up Bugbasher, determined to clear out one of those caves properly. When I reached the cave, I uncryoed the sloth and geared up, only to immediately realize the universe had different plans. A Managarmer had followed me into the cave. I managed to freeze it with my owl and tried trapping it, but my trap placement was poor and the mana was free to continue harassing me. Eventually, I had enough trying to kill it and made the simple choice to just lure it out of the cave and back into the wilds. But the world hates me, and somehow the mana found its way all the way back inside the cave to harass me further.
Oh, come on! This guy is so annoying! I'm just gonna keep going. I'm going deeper into the cave. Surely it will just fail to follow me at some point, right?
At this point, enough was enough. I was sick and tired of this mana, and between my foxes and Bugbasher, we finally put the pest to rest.
It is the most annoying creature. Thank you, Bugbasher. Put him to rest. Oh my gosh, man. Holy crap. What an annoying creature.
With that threat cleared, I started making my way deeper into the cave until I came to a clearing that was packed full of all sorts of bad guys. Accidentally, I pulled way too many wolves, and to make matters worse, I hadn't noticed my fox was no longer duplicated. The fox got absolutely shredded, and I thought for sure Bugbasher would be going down as well. After somehow surviving, I continued pushing and targeted an Arthro next, and once we killed it, Bugbasher got the insect killer boost. Suddenly, we were unstoppable. Everything in the cave began melting beneath the claws of my coked out sloth. We pushed further until I noticed something that caused me to pause for a moment. It was night now, which meant the sleepy rolls were alive and active.
Oh my gosh. Sleepy roll, awake sleepy roll, awake sleepy roll, awake sleepy roll. Not sleeping sleepy roll, not sleeping sleepy roll.
So I backed off to a safe distance and healed Bugbasher up with my owl for the fight that lie ahead. Once Bugbasher had enough health, we went to battle with the Megalosaurus, and my big fat sloth handled it like it was nothing. With it down, I wandered deeper into the cave, gathering as much chitin as I could possibly carry when I would spot something magical, an easy to tame level 5 dung beetle. So I made Bugbasher relieve itself, and just like that, I had a replacement beetle for the one that died early on. With it in tow, I headed home when on the way, my ears would perk up to the sound of an oviraptor in the snow. Even better, this one had a baby in tow.
I see the baby. I see a baby. I see a child. That sounds so terrible.
So of course I didn't hesitate, taking out the parent and claiming the baby as my own. But then as I tried swapping the dung beetle out for the baby oviraptor, disaster nearly struck.
Oh, of all the things, of all the things. No, it's a 145 too. Oh, thank you, Snow Owl. Thank you. You took care of it before. Oh my gosh, my dung beetle's almost dead.
Thankfully, we survived, and once home, I got the baby out and fed it some meat to start raising it. And with the baby now depending on me, I finally accepted reality. It was way past time to put down a feeding trough. I also crafted some more storage to fill with all the chitin I just gathered, and named my new dung beetle Stinky. With that all handled, I headed down into the nearby corrupted area to gather more organic polymer, harvesting until I had a nice stockpile, which I would take home to craft myself the new fabricated crossbow, with plans of using it for finally taming an Oceodon. Before leaving, I crafted a few more cryopods in case I should find any other creatures worth taming while out looking for an Oceodon. And just outside my base, I spotted several Oceodons. This would be a great area for taming them if any of them were a high enough level to make them worth it. So continuing my search, I headed out to other areas that seemed like safe taming spots, and while out, kept my eyes peeled for moss chops that I would need for another future tame. My search took nearly all day with no results until I finally spotted a moss chops worth taming.
145, that's what we want to see. Okay, come on girl, tell me you don't want no giant bee honey. If you do, I'm gonna punch you in your frickin' mouth.
I checked its tame requirements, fully expecting something ridiculous, but instead it wanted a simple tintaberry. So I fed it and then hung around waiting for its second feed, preparing myself again to be disappointed. But this time it wanted just a measureberry, and with that, it was tamed. The good luck didn't last into the next day, unfortunately, as I spent a very long time searching for more moss chops, finding nothing but low levels who were usually in the process of being killed. Eventually, I would find another one stuck in the side of a mountain. It was only a level 50, which obviously is not great, but after searching all day, I was willing to take anything. But still, I needed more, and so I kept searching the remainder of the day, finding nothing but disappointment, until I spotted a level 140 Solwyn, and nearby it was another Moschops. But before I could even check to see what it needed for taming, a pack of Troodons attacked out of nowhere, leaving me to scramble to take them out and sending the Moschops into a panicked run. But eventually I managed to catch back up to the Moschops and tame it with exactly one Mejoberry. But in all the chaos, I had completely lost track of the 140 Solwyn I'd spotted just before it, so I pulled the owl back out and flipped on thermal vision to track it down, only to realize it was literally right under me.
Wow. Wow, it was literally right there. What a joke. What a joke.
I approached it slowly and began the process of bonding with it by having my companion fox imitate whatever emote it did. But as I did the final emote to get it all the way bonded, I apparently didn't approach it fast enough to retrieve the pristine Volpite, and the beast ran off completely disinterested in me.
Yeah, there you go. What do you think about that? Why do you keep... This one's on cooldown, dude. You're gonna have to give it a second. Ooh, what's that one? Ooh, you want to play? You want to get playful? Oh. Buddy, you're gonna have to keep give this one a little bit. I beg you. I beg you. Let me beg you some more. Oh, you want me to beg? I'll beg, baby.
So now with a lengthy countdown timer, I decided to head back to base when just outside my little cave, I spotted a level 140 Daedon that I would have to tame right away. To do that though, I needed to go back home and grab Hershey for scooping it up. And while here, I set my Spino on the medical stand to begin sucking it dry of all its blood in order to make the blood packs I needed for my next tame. I even tried adding Bug Basher as well, but apparently the stand believes in monogamy. So while the Spino was being sucked, I upgraded my drop trap back to a 2x2 for the pig, and by the time I was done, I had almost 500 blood packs. So I detached the Spino for now, giving it a short break. Then I returned to scoop up the 140 Daedon, and while dragging it back to base, I paid exactly 0 attention to my Argent's health, and nearly lost it along the way.
Oh, I'm almost out of stamina. This is actually kind of bad. Get in there. Oh, thank goodness. Oh, there's another pig here. Look at that. That pig chased me. My dude almost died. I did not notice that. He was like this low to health.
I would have to wait outside briefly to recover my health, and when I re-entered my base, chaos had broken out. My entire team was now attacking the pig. So after a frustrating minute of pulling everything back to safety, I had to heal the pig with my snow owl before I would be able to safely knock it out. Once it was all healed up, I started knocking it out while also testing out the new fabricated crossbow in the process. Unfortunately, this was pre-patch back when the bow durability was basically made of wet paper towels. Every shot felt like a countdown to disappointment. And worse, I had no real idea how much torpor I'd actually done, so I crafted a magnifying glass, and when I got back to the pig, it was actually losing torpor. So I swapped the bow to shotgun mode and started blasting, until eventually the pig was asleep. Of course, I would need mutton to tame it, and while out searching for an ovis, I spotted another Moschops. Unfortunately, this one wanted a rare flower, of which I had none. Moving on, I flipped on the owl's thermal vision, and before long, I found an ovis, took it out, and hauled the mutton straight back to the pig. While it began taming, I healed my Spino using my snow owl, and then reattached it to the medical stand to keep the blood packs flowing. And while the stand sucked it dry once more, I started crafting pieces for a large makeshift trap I would need to trap my next target, a Desmodus. Once I had more blood packs stocked, I detached the Spino again, crafted a Daedon saddle, and once it was tamed, I cryoed it up. I also cryoed the Spino as well to bring it along as backup, and before departing, I made sure to craft a few parachutes in case things go terribly wrong. Early next morning, I returned to the cave where we found our Anki, this time in search of a Desmodus worth taming. But just as my search began, a bat snuck up on me from behind, scooping me into the air.
There's only two. Wait, never mind. Is that a third one? Oh, that. Where the frick did you come from? Hey, get off of me!
Eventually, the silly bat got itself stuck underneath a structure, and so I brought out my Spino to put it out of its misery. Then, while catching my breath, I spotted another bat hanging on the side of a structure, and not wanting it to interfere, I tried luring it down to deal with it, but it just sort of ignored me. So I moved on and started setting up the trap. Of course, the moment I committed to luring down a bat I wanted to tame, I got attacked again by yet another Desmodus. This time, it scooped up my fox and chewed away at it. But after dealing with that mess, I finally found the one I actually wanted, a level 135, and began baiting it to the trap.
Oh, he's definitely faster than my owl. He's definitely faster or just as fast as my owl.
And in a very rare stroke of brilliance, I used my snow owl to freeze the bat so I could quickly escape the trap and then shut the gate, locking it in.
Yes, it worked! Oh, how funny! How funny, how funny! We did it! We trapped it in there and used the owl to cry or to freeze it and then get out. That's awesome.
Admittedly, it took me a bit to get things working properly, and I even had to remove some of the floors to get it to consistently pick us up. But eventually, it was scooping my Daedon, improving its taming effectiveness.
There he goes. Now he's got the Daedon. That should get his taming effectiveness going up. There we go. It's going up. It's going up. There we go. It's going up. It's going up. Still got him.
Once that was working, I let it grab me for a bit too, getting its taming underway. With the trap set and the mechanics finally clicking, I figured out the loop. I hid under the pig's chin, tricking the bat into grabbing the Daedon instead of me. Once it dropped the pig, the Daedon would waddle right back to the doorway like a confused loaf of meat, and then I'd do it all over again. I repeated this process until the taming effectiveness hit 100%, then the bat grabbed me, nearly finishing the tame. I got it back to 100% effectiveness with the pig, and after grabbing me one more time, it was tamed.
And it's tamed! 202, baby! There it is.
Once I got back to base with it, I immediately named the pig Bat Bacon. And then I did a quick wood run by hand to gather the little bit I needed for crafting my new Desmodus a saddle. With it strapped, I named the bat Bruce. Of course, I wasted no time putting him to work, using his ability to turn 200 blood packs into a single sand green elixir that will give a 30% taming jump to anything we tame going forward. Once that was done, I crafted more arrows, and then headed out in search of some boss wrecks worth taming. Of course, as usual, I forgot something at base. This time, the brand new elixirs I had just made, and had to return home for them. Once I had them, my Rex hunt resumed, and while out searching, I spotted a level 145 Yudi. Normally, that would have been an instant target, but considering how many I'd already seen roaming, I decided to leave it alone for about 1 minute before deciding to turn back and go for the tame, starting with luring its Carno friends off the cliff to isolate my target. Unfortunately, the Yudi itself decided to follow them right off the edge too.
Oh no! He went to go join his Carno friends! He dove, dude. He just dove off the cliff.
At that point, the whole situation turned into a mess. I tried using my fox to clean up anything extra still hanging around, but eventually the fox went down. Then, just to really twist the knife, I had to sit and watch a Thyla kill the Yudi. Moving on, I continued my search until I found a 120 Oceodon tagging along with a 135 Rex. I froze the Rex with my snow owl and managed to throw down some gates around it, but the Oceodon was still close and I needed to make sure it wasn't coming back, and that's when I spotted an even better Rex.
What? What? Oh my gosh, are you serious? We just found it 150 Rex. Bruh. 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 Bruh.
I only had one set of gates though, so I returned to start knocking out the 135 first, pumping it full of arrows, and once it had enough in it, I healed it up some with the snow owl, and eventually the Rex went down. With that, I returned to find the 150 had wandered down into the valley, and nearby was something unbelievable. 2 more high-level Rex. Unfortunately, all 4 I found so far were males.
Wait for that other guy to... Oh, 2 of them. 135. 145. Oh my gosh. What is going on?
And to make things worse, I couldn't place structures anywhere around here, meaning I couldn't put down my gate trap. But after much trial and error, I finally found a spot where I could, lured the 150 Rex over, and trapped it. And so I started knocking it out, completely surrounded by hostile wildlife. Things were going fine until my crossbow broke, but thankfully I'd actually planned ahead for once and had spares. So I swapped out and kept going like nothing happened. That's when I realized something far worse. I hadn't brought enough arrows.
Oh my gosh, I don't have enough arrows. I didn't bring enough narcotics to make enough arrows.
So instead, I found a baby trike for some prime meat and returned to the 135 Rex I had already knocked out, using the elixir to boost its taming up to 30% and the prime to finish it off instantly. And then I checked its stats and they were awful. So I headed back home to repair all my bows, and after that I took Bugbasher out to gather more narcoberries, where I would run into a capro that yeeted itself to the moon.
Capro just yeeted itself to God knows where. Where did that thing go? Oh my gosh. Boy took off. Dude, he's gone. He is literally gone.
Once I had enough berries, I used the drop box to efficiently move them along with some spoiled meat and began cranking out another haul of narcotics before casually crafting 500 stone arrows. Fully restocked, I headed back out, crafting trank arrows on the move, ready to finish what I started with the 150 Rex. I returned to the trap, and to my surprise, the Rex still had some torpor left, so I started knocking it back out. It took a while, but eventually it finally went down. What followed was very annoying. I spent an absurd amount of time just fending off mana garmers that were hellbent on ruining the tame. Every time I thought I had space, another ice missile with anger issues would show up to remind me I don't get peace. While trying to lure one mana away though, I spotted something amazing. Another max level Rex.
Another 150 Rex? What? Oh my gosh, another one. Bro, what? What is going on?
Eventually, I got space to try again, but while trying to put my fox on passive, I made a massive mistake. And then the mana showed back up anyways to make things even worse. Eventually, I harvested a nearby rhino baby for prime meat, and after way too much stress and annoyance, I finally carved out enough space to commit to the tame. The Rex tamed successfully, but when I checked its stats, it was another dud. Hoping to find a boss Rex somewhere a little more quiet, I headed north and spent a long time searching with no luck. Instead, I found a level 130 mana that would make for a tempting taming target. Of course, when you actually want to tame a mana, it immediately starts getting itself killed by everything around it. Watching it broke something inside me till eventually I had enough and took the mana out myself.
Screw it, I'm gonna kill him myself. I don't even care anymore. Annoying thing, the one mana that I think I want to try to tame, and it's freaking got a death wish.
Still determined, I headed back towards the mana infested zone, only to nearly get yoinked off the mountaintop by a Pelayori.
Yeah, we'll just go back there. We saw 150, 135, 130, like we saw another 130, I think. We saw all kinds of high levels. But again, they were all males.
Hello?
Oh my gosh! That was very close to being very bad.
Once back in the danger zone, I found the second 150 Rex from earlier, but of course it was absolutely covered in bad guys. And while trying to manage that mess, another mana showed up. I froze with a snow owl, but this was another area where I couldn't place a trap.
You gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me. I actually can't place structures right here. Literally, if I move 3 inches that way, I can place them. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. I hate this game.
I tried again elsewhere, and this time, after freezing it, I was able to place the trap to promptly kill it off. With it out of the way, I got the 150 Rex to follow me to a safe spot and managed to trap it as well. But the victory was short-lived. The Rex didn't stay trapped, and I would have to keep trying. I went back, picked the trap up, and tried again, and this time, the Rex was trapped. So I immediately started knocking it out, all while a mana garmer kept harassing me like it had nothing better to do. But I stayed locked in arrow after arrow until I was confident it had enough arrows in it to pass out over time. While it got tired, I went out and found another baby rhino for prime meat, and then rushed back to the Rex to slip it the elixir and the meat, getting the taming underway. So I waited and waited till the Rex fully tamed, and then swooped in immediately to cryo it up. This one had over 10k health, but the mod I'm using is messed up and not showing points on health, so I wasn't even sure if that was good or not. On the way out from another successful tame, I spotted another one of those majestic new dragons and couldn't resist jumping on to check it out. It only wanted a brontospine, which I could easily get, but I was still not prepared for the full taming process. With a male that had possibly good health secured, I continued my search until high up in the mountains, I found what I was looking for.
What? Oh my gosh! What the heck? What the heck, dude? Holy crap! Our freaking 150 female? Oh, wrong button.
But then I immediately got distracted by a hole in the ground.
What is this? Oh, what is this? Oh, hold on now. Take a peep at this.
Back on task, I began trying to trap the Rex when she would also be taken by the sight of that sweet hole and dove straight in. So naturally, I followed her down. Inside the pit, everything began going terribly wrong. I nearly lost my Desmodus to a Carno and Yudi tag teaming me.
Fear word on the ground. I'm gonna lose my bat, actually. Oh, he just healed himself with the blood pack. Yep, I'm dead. I'm dead. Yep, I'm dead. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. This is going terribly. And now the Rex is gonna die to a freaking vulture of all things.
And after managing to survive that, I watched helplessly as the 150 female Rex got herself killed by vultures.
Yep. How do I get the vultures off of him? You don't. You just let him kill it. They just kill her. That's all that happens. All right, hold on. We got it.
Still on the mountainside and ready to give up entirely, I spotted a level 135 Oceodon up the cliff in a spot where I might actually be able to tame it. I tried poking it with a few arrows just to test the waters, when in true form, a Carno showed up to somehow kill the massive beast. At this point, it felt like nothing was going right, but I pushed on regardless in my search for a female Rex. I would spot yet another max level one, but again, it was a male. My search continued into the next morning when I would spot an absolutely beautiful Rex, but of course, as it goes, the prettier they are, the worse the level. So I pressed on, making more elixirs to stay positive that I might find more Rex worth taming. But as the search went on and on, I found nothing but more disappointment, until eventually I found something usable, a level 130 female Rex traveling with a level 130 male. I of course focused on the female, attempting to trap it with my handy dandy gates, but I misplaced the trap and she slipped free. I tried a second time, and this time she was stuck. Choosing safety in these harsh lands, I began knocking her out from the back of Bruce until I had enough arrows in her hide. And then I stood around with my magnifying glass, watching her torpor slowly build up until she passed out. With her down, I immediately scooped up a baby trike, harvested it for prime meat, and rushed back, feeding the Rex the elixir and the prime to get yet another one underway. While it started, I grabbed a baby racer for extra meat just in case, all while the Lost King decided this was his perfect chance to try seducing me once again. Once he was done yapping, I watched as the 130 male Rex she was traveling with fell victim to another flock of vultures, but at the same time, she finished taming. But as I rushed back to her, another 125 male Rex spawned in right on top of her, looking like he wanted to take my sweet lady as his own. That was not happening. I jumped in and took him down. Then I checked her stats and she got a measly 33 points in melee, but she'll still work as a breeder once we find ones that do have the stats we want. Later in the day, my Rex search turned up another level 145 male who was looking a little rough, so I trapped it and started to heal it up with my snow owl to get it ready for knocking out. And of course, a mana showed up to try ruining everything. I broke off, dealt with the mana, and returned to continue healing the Rex. Once it was healed up, I started knocking it out, and almost immediately, vultures showed up to interrupt me as well. I dealt with the first batch only to have even more show up shortly after to interrupt me once again. Still, somehow I powered through it. After fighting off the whole flock and dumping in enough arrows, the Rex finally went down. I again tracked down a baby woolly rhino, harvested it for prime meat, and fed the Rex both the elixir and the prime. Then, while scouting around for even more Rex, I spotted a level 140 dragon. Not that I would ever be able to tame it, but it was still really cool to see. After being distracted by that for a moment, I hunted down the 150 male Rex I'd seen a few days ago, figuring I might as well tame it and hope for some good stats. I got it trapped and started healing it up for the knockout when, what would you know, yet another mana showed up to interrupt yet another tame.
Yep, that makes sense. That makes actually perfect sense that of all things is showing up right now. Yep, makes so much sense actually. You love to actually see it. You love to see it. Yep, you love to see it. You love to see it.
Thankfully, it got distracted with other creatures, and once it wandered off, I went back to healing the Rex and loading it with arrows while crafting more. Then, just as I finished putting enough arrows into the Rex to let it knock out, the mana showed back up to once again interrupt the fun. Absolutely sick and tired of the interruptions, I took this one out for good, and in the process of chasing it down, it actually led me to a baby trike that would be a perfect source of prime meat for my newly knocked out Rex. But of course, as I tried getting back to the Rex to feed it, even more mana showed up to continue harassing me, but one of these ones was a level 145. But first came the Rex, and after way too much juking and raging, I finally managed to slip the manas, only to realize the original prime meat had spoiled. So I had to take out a baby terror bird for more, and of course this short delay was enough time for the manas to show back up again. Sick and tired of the whole endeavor, I said screw it and just rushed in to feed the Rex the elixir and prime meat, and since it had already starved for so long, it tamed up instantly. But that wouldn't be the end of the mana drama, as they continued to harass me, and at this point it was looking like I might actually die out here. The thing refused to stop chasing me until I finally trapped it using a snow owl freeze and then took it out using my bat. For a second I thought the nightmare was over, only for another mana to arrive immediately after. I slipped past that one too and returned to the first Rex I had left taming, and after cryoing it up I began checking my Rex stats when, well, you can probably guess.
Have any of these new Rex gotten good stats? I don't know which one's which. We've got the 10,000 health one with terrible melee, 8,000 health with 39 melee. Okay, we've got 39-ish health and 39 melee. That might be it, man. Oh, look who's back. Oh, look who showed back up.
I would eventually manage to freeze it, but before I could even trap it, vultures would arrive to get involved as well, and well, at this point I was just a little fed up.
Oh my gosh, you gotta be kidding me. I'm so mad. I just want to. I just want to go home. I don't want to ever play this game again. I'm so sick and tired of it. I literally just want to do one thing. It just.
I eventually dealt with the latest wave of chaos, and the mana garmer showed up again, and for once, trapping it was shockingly easy. With it stuck, I finally had a chance to properly check the new Rex stats, and the 150 came out with a very nice melee pool. 45 melee! 45 melee! Oh my gosh! Thank you, sweet baby Jesus! A 45 melee Rex. Oh, come on, man. It's all been worth it. That was the one that we went and that was the 150 that we had to wait and draw manas away to get. Oh, it's all been worth it. Holy crap. From there, I turned my attention back to the mana, loading up with arrows from beneath its stomach, fully expecting it to fall straight through the map. But when it passed out, luckily, it didn't. So I grabbed the baby rhino like I always do, and took it out for its prime as its mother watched on helplessly nearby, stuck on a cliffside and forced to watch. I fed the mana the elixir in the prime and waited. And while I was standing there, exhausted and numb, I realized that all the fighting I'd been doing had rewarded me with 2 treasure maps, both pointing in the exact same spot.
One of them is that away. I see where the other one is, maybe? That is where that one was. What the heck? Where's this one? Okay, they're in the exact same spot, apparently. Apparently, we've got 2 treasure chests buried in the exact same spot.
Once the mana had finished taming, I crowded up and then headed towards the treasure location, only to realize the chests were either deep inside a cave or literally inside the mountain. I tried to head down inside the cave that might be holding the treasure, but things were looking pretty hopeless, and on my way back out of the cave, I accidentally aggroed a pair of Desmodus, leaving me to fly for my life. I finally made it back home the next morning, tired, overloaded, and very aware that half my base systems were running on borrowed time. First thing I noticed, the preserving bin had run out, so I immediately started crafting more spark powder. With that handled, I went through my Arctic armor and repaired whatever pieces I could. Thankfully, I found more fur tucked away in a chest, which let me fix up a few more pieces. Then it was time for the real highlight. I pulled out all of my new Rexes. After days of hunting, trapping, disappointment, and near mental collapse, seeing them all lined up felt surreal. They were nowhere near the boss army I needed to build, but they were mine, damn it. Next, I crafted a saddle for my mana and named the icy icon Bobby. With Bobby and my fox in tow, I started clearing out every Rex roaming outside my base. The plan was simple: wipe the area clean and hope the game respawns something better, specifically a high-level female.
I'm done taking males. We're not getting any more males. I don't care, unless it's 150.
And I stayed out doing that for the rest of the night, jumping, freezing, shredding, resetting the ecosystem one apex predator at a time. After searching my immediate area for a while with 0 luck, I finally gave up and went back to base to do some maintenance by repairing all my bows. Once everything was fixed up, I headed back out with the same goal of finding a high-level female Rex with a good health roll. Along the way, I spotted a level 130 male, and I figured if it had good health, I might as well tame it. So I checked its pre-tame health with my magnifying glass, but it was terrible and not worth the effort to tame it. Not long after that, I found a level 140 male with even worse health. It was honestly impressive just how bad it was.
Nope, trash, even worse. Oh my gosh, 5400 is garbage. 66 is the average. I'm killing you.
Anything that wasn't worth my time got cleared out. At this point, I was just hunting Rexes as I was curating the bio. And then, finally, a level 140 female Rex.
Oh, come on, baby! Oh, 140 female, 140 female! No, rhinos. Found it. We found it, folks. We found it. A 140 female Rex.
I trapped her cleanly, and for a brief moment, everything was going perfectly. Naturally, that's when a Ceratosaurus decided to intervene and nearly killed my Rex before I could even start the tame. I reacted instantly, fending it off just in time.
Oh, I got it. Oh my gosh, I got it.
And swooping in with my snow owl to start healing the Rex back up. Of course, I had to take a little peek with my magnifying glass to see if her health was anything worth getting excited over.
Oh my gosh, it's got terrible health. It's got terrible health. Oh no, it's got terrible health.
Regardless of what she might come out with, she was still another female that I could use to breed bosses, so I started knocking her out. I kept loading her up with arrows into the next morning until eventually she dropped to the ground unconscious. So I went to find my usual victim in the form of a baby rhino for prime meat. But when I returned, the unthinkable was unfolding. Another Cerato had showed up to attack my unconscious Rex.
No! Oh, why? Why? A Serrato of all things. Well, it's gonna die.
I began mentally preparing myself for the long game of letting her wake up again to restart the tame, but when I got close, I realized it was worse than I had thought. The Rex was actually dead.
Oh, it's actually dead. Yeah, never mind. It's fully dead. Didn't notice that at first.
Trying to salvage something from the day, I kept searching and found a level 130 male Rex with 7,000 health. That sounded decent at first, so I considered taming it, until I did a little research and realized that health was not actually good at all. So I moved on, and later in the night I found another 130 male. I checked his health with a magnifying glass, and it might have honestly been the worst health roll in the history of health rolls.
Oh my gosh, no way that was the Rex. I had to have seen something else. That is the worst statted. No way that is the Rex. That cannot be the Rex. That with 3,900 health.
At this point, I was ready to give up, fully defeated, emotionally empty, when the map decided to test me one more time. I spotted a level 120 female Rex, but even better was a nearby level 145 female.
Is another Rex. Ooh, and an Ocean with a baby. Wait, no, that's a baby Argent. I thought it was a baby Ocean. 120 female. Oh, here's another Rex. 145 female. Oh my gosh, I have to tame this. I have to tame this despite the fact that I have other things. I'm planning on doing building. Oh my gosh.
Of course, the 145 wasn't alone. She had a low-level male clinging to her like a Pokimane simp, and together they took out my fox. I eventually took the male out and focused entirely on the real prize. I got the 145 female trapped, and before doing anything risky, I played it safe and healed her up with my snow out. Then I pulled out the glass to check her health, and when I did, I nearly fainted. Her health was insanely high.
Oh my gosh, this one has 14,900 health! Holy crap, that has to be amazing. That has to be amazing. Oh my goodness.
I did the math and couldn't believe what I was reading. This Rex would have 62 points in health pre-tame.
This thing, if that's accurate, if that is actually accurate, there's no way that's accurate. 14,900 and something. If that's accurate, according to Dododex, this thing has 60 flippin' 2 pre-tame points in health. There is no way on earth that is accurate.
So I started firing away arrow after arrow. When one crossbow broke, I swapped it out for another without hesitation. But then something strange started happening. The Rex, who allegedly had crazy high health, was already getting bloody. So I checked again, and that's when I realized something awful. I had gotten the numbers for her health and her torpor mixed up.
Wait, what? Am I out of my mind, or did it not say it had 14k health? I must have saw something else. What did I see? That it said I could have sworn I saw 14k health.
That insane health wasn't insane at all. I was just gaslighting myself into believing I had finally found the one. Still, I needed her as another breeder, so I fired away until she passed out right on top of my back.
Oh my gosh. I got its torpidity and its health confused. I'm an idiot. I'm actually so dumb. I got its torpidity and its health confused, but its health does keep changing, which is, I don't know what's happening there.
Once free, I found a baby Patchy rhino nearby, chopped it up for prime meat, and fed the Rex both the prime and the elixir to get the tame underway. While she was taming, I went back home to dump my inventory into storage, and then headed back out gathering stone for future building. For this playthrough, I plan on building a massive gothic themed mansion, and just to put it in perspective, it's going to take 194 stone foundations, 83 stone ceilings, 4 stone gateways, 772 stone pillars, 262 stone quarter ceilings, 1,643 stone quarter walls, 12 stone doors, 4 stone gates, 342 stone roofs, 264 stone sloped walls, 248 stone quarter foundations, 94 stone corner roofs, and 330 stone walls, which translates to roughly 140,000 stone, 70,000 wood, and 50,000 thatch that we need to gather. So I stayed gathering stone for the rest of the day until I noticed the Rex was nearly done taming and returned home to dump what stone I had. In just that short time, I had already managed to gather 17.5 thousand stone. I quickly dumped it into storage using the visual storage system, and it was actually feeling like this might be doable. But first, I returned to Cryo my newly tamed female Rex, and her health was pretty bad. Still, I took her home and got both my females breeding with the high melee male in hopes of producing more female babies. And of course, my Oviraptor raptor would scoop up any eggs they dropped. With that handled, I headed out for another round of stone gathering, swinging away at rock after rock until eventually my dode was slot capped with stone. But when I returned home with my latest haul, I was greeted by a mana that had managed to jump into my little cave. Thankfully, Bobby was up for a little mana on mana warfare and took out the wild with little fuss. With it down, I popcorned nearly 30,000 stone that my dode was carrying, quickly stored it away, and it was back out for another run. This time farming metal rocks that give a little more stone, because let's face it, I'm alone in this tundra, efficiency is everything, and using the metal nodes got my dode slot capped much faster. I dropped everything off again, and it was back out for another run. Returning early the next morning, I dropped off another batch, and it was back out again for what I'd hoped would be my final stone run. Sometime into the day, I returned to drop that load off, and then crunched the numbers, and I was still about 1,000 stone short. So I sighed, turned around, and went out for one more very quick trip. When I dropped that small load off, I finally had enough stone for the build. Taking a short break while here at base, I checked my Oviraptor only to find that it had only picked up one of the Rex eggs, and the other one had spoiled in the snow. It was a truly impressive level of underperforming that could probably rival my own late night adventures. But I had no time to dwell on it, there was still wood and thatch to gather. So next up, it was out with Slippery to begin harvesting the massive amount of wood. Somehow, me just minding my own business, chopping down trees, caused a few vultures to become upset, but I quickly dealt with them and went back to chopping. And by the end of the night, I was taking my first haul home. It wasn't a full-blown slot cap haul, but it was a decent start. As the next day began, I went back out gathering another load until Hershey could barely carry the beaver with all the wood it had harvested. I hauled everything home, unloaded it all, and finally stopped long enough to actually check what was left on the list.
Okay, so we need about 17,000 more wood, and we need about... Oh, we need a lot of thatch. Okay, we still need like 33,000 thatch. I thought maybe we'd be a little closer on the thatch. Okay, well, we're almost done with wood.
So with calculations done, I went back out to finish off the remaining wood, but this time a Dinotherium decided to make it personal and started chasing me. I didn't even fight it, I just dumped it off a cliff and went right back to chopping like nothing happened. I kept gathering until I was sure I had enough. When I finally returned home and unloaded everything, the numbers confirmed it. I had more than enough wood. All that was left now was about 30,000 thatch. So I cryoed up Bobby for some backup protection and headed out on Bucky's revenge to get to work on my final harvest. The trip out on my deer brought back some oh so fond memories of my early days on this map in the form of getting snatched off the deer by a Perlovia.
Oh, that's a Perlovia. Yep, hey guys. Over here, guys. Over here, guys. Yep, nope, screw me. Hey, team! Hey, team! Hey, you're just putzing around over here. You want to frickin' help out?
But somehow between getting jump scared and sprinting for my life, I actually leveled up to 80, and that finally unlocked the Industrial Forge. As I continued gathering, I barely avoided another Perlovia jump attack, and my foxes promptly took it out. The fun didn't end there though, as soon after I absolutely broke the ankles of a Capro as well.
Oh my gosh, dude, you got flippin' juked, brother. You got your ankles taken.
Then I heard it. Nearby was a Rex. I checked its level and, well, my plan changed quickly.
I just heard a Rex. Oh, there it is. There's a Rex. Ooh, there's a Rex. What are you? What are you? What are you? Oh my gosh, I'm a 145 female. Oh my gosh, a 145 female. Dude, I have to freaking tame this. I can't leave that thing here. I have to tame that. Oh my goodness. Okay, well.
First, I did the responsible thing and went home to drop off the thatch I'd gathered so far, and when I checked the numbers, I was still about 5,000 short. Then I crowded up my snow out and grabbed the stuff I needed for taming the Rex, only to realize I didn't have enough narcotics to make the trank arrows I needed.
I actually need to make more trank arrows. I've actually run out of trank arrows, and I doubt I have any. I don't have any extra narcotics, do I? I don't. And do I have? I highly doubt I have any. I have the spoiled meat to make them.
So I took Buglasher out to gather berries while also harvesting more thatch along the way. By the end of the run, I finally had both, the narco berries I needed and the rest of the thatch for the build. And once I was home with it all, I began cranking out the narcotics I needed for my latest Rex. Once I had enough narcotics cooked up, I grabbed some blood packs and headed back out to deal with the Rex I'd been eyeing. Naturally, I fumbled the first trap attempt, but then, like it felt bad for me, the Rex just sort of trapped itself.
Oh! You dummy! You did the work for me! Alright, dude, don't get eaten. Don't get eaten. did it for me.
I crafted more trank arrows on the spot and started knocking her out, watching carefully as the torpor built up, and after enough shots, she started getting sleepy and eventually passed out clean. I of course churned the blood packs into an elixir for the taming boost, and then while out searching for the prime meat to feed her, I spotted an impressive Yudi, but even better was another high level Rex.
Another freaking Yudi right here. That's a 145 Yudi. Oh my gosh. What is that? That's a beautiful Rex. A 140 female. No way, dude. There's a 145 Yudi right here and a 140 female Rex. I still gotta find prime meat for the 145 Rex. Dude, this is insane. When you stop looking for things, they start just showing up.
And nearby I found a baby wolf, which my fox harvested to secure its prime meat, and I fed it to the Rex along with the elixir to start the tame. With that one underway, I picked up my gates and headed back out to deal with the level 140 Rex. I managed to get her trapped cleanly, and after a quick magnifying glass check, she actually looked promising.
Oh, 8,500. That's actually good. That's actually, I mean, it's decent. It's not like breathtakingly amazing, but it's decent. Okay, well, we gotta go make more trank arrows. Oh, she killed my companion. Alright, well, let's go get more trank arrows.
So I rushed home to grab more narcotics, then returned with a fresh batch of arrows and started knocking her out. While doing that, the other Rex finished taming, so I took a moment to check her stats, and I was not disappointed.
Wow, that is 50 points in melee! Holy crap! Oh my gosh! We have to get this bred onto a male. We have to. Oh my, it's got terrible health, but I got another high melee Rex. Holy crap.
Feeling good, I returned to the 140 and realized I actually needed one more arrow to get her down, and once she was, I took out a nearby baby Argent for its prime meat and fed it to her along with another elixir. And this baby actually had 33 points in health pre-tame. She may actually be the health Rex we've needed. Not wanting to risk losing my potential high health female, I just sat around watching her tame like an overprotective parent. Just when I thought she was about to have her final bite to eat and finish taming, she needed one more. So while I waited those final agonizing seconds, I started marking explore note locations on my map, until eventually the tame finished, I scooped her up immediately, and yeah, her health was looking pretty good.
Hey, the Rex is tamed, the Rex is tamed. Let's pick it up, let's see what it's got. Come on, baby. I don't know what high health is gonna look like, because I don't have the, it's not showing health right now, but I'm hoping like over 12 or over 13, over 11 maybe? I don't know. Be crazy probably. 11 on the dot. Holy crap. That's all. I mean, that's got to be high, right? I have to assume that's high.
Back at base, I wasted no time. I started breeding my two new females with my best male Rex, and while the breeding was underway, I tracked a handful of explore notes that were somewhat close together. If I was going to craft days worth of building pieces, I might as well have an explorer note active while doing it. I found the first explorer note on some aberration debris, the second one was sitting in a nearby lake, the third was perched on a cliff in a Rockwell area, the fourth was tucked away in some ruins, and the last one was off a bridge near my base, which I grabbed easily using the bat. So with the XP boost active, I rushed back to base and started crafting the first massive batch of building pieces. But as the night dragged on, I glanced at the timer and felt my stomach drop. The XP boost was already half gone, and I barely made a dent in the crafting. Crafting continued into the next day, of course, and before long, my experience boost was already gone, and I had only gained 5 levels while using it. Regardless, I continued crafting the rest of the day, and by the time the day was over, my first batch of build pieces was just finishing. So the next day started with me crafting another massive batch of build pieces, and I just stood here all day crafting build pieces until the day was over and I was queuing up the last pieces I needed. As the next day began, I hoped it would be the final day of standing around doing nothing but crafting, but as it came to an end, I was in fact still crafting. But with only one more set of pieces to go, day 64 would be the day we finally finished crafting. Once I was done, I started moving all the build pieces topside to a storage chest for easier access, but then paused for a moment to craft a Rex saddle to move my breeding Rex closer together, as the Oviraptor was once again slacking off on its job. Once they were sorted, I returned to move the last of the build pieces topside, and it was time to get to building our Gothic mansion. Alright, so there we have it. That is our Gothic Mansion build, and holy crap, that was a massive build to do without creative mode. But I felt like we needed to go big for this playthrough, and I would say we did just that. I used a very limited amount of the Lost Colony skins because honestly, I just don't really care for them, but I think where I did use them worked out well. With this build being so massive, we have plenty of room on the inside for pretty much everything we need. One side will be where we have all our crafting stations, the other will be for all of our visual storage, and the middle will be where we hatch and raise our baby Rex. Plus, we have a ton of space underneath that we can use for other things if needed. Overall, I am super happy with this build. I would say it's probably the biggest build anyone has ever done during a 100 days video, and probably one of my favorite ones that I've done. But now that I had my build complete, I needed to fill it out with all of the various crafting stations, and to do that, I first had to go harvest some more polymer. Once I had enough, I took my Doit out to harvest the light posts along the bridge, who, much like an extinction, give crystal, element dust, scrap metal, and electronics. Once I returned to base, I went to make multiple aircons for hatching the eggs, but I didn't have all the metal I needed. Luckily, I still had a bunch in the forge, so I started cooking that up. While cooking the metal, I headed over to a nearby cave that was very rich in oil and gathered what I needed. And once I was back home, I threw it in the forge along with some hide to get some more gasoline cooking as well. And after doing all of that, I had enough metal to make one more aircon. Next, I crafted the electrical generator I would need for powering the aircons and got it set up beneath one of the staircases in my new home, when something tragic would happen down below.
We need like... Wait, what? Wait, what? Did Spearmint just starve? Wait, what? Did I not... Does my Doit just starve to death?
Turns out dropping the Doit in the water to unload everything was not a very good idea, as despite it being very shallow, it was still somehow deep enough to drown it.
You stumpy little thing! You drowned in this shallow ass water! Are you kidding me? It freaking drowned in this water! Oh my gosh, dude. Are you out of your mind right now?
I pushed past the grief and got back on task using the Quiet Skin mod to silence the generator because I refuse to live in a house that sounds like an airport runway. With the power running, I started setting up the aircons and went to test whether I could finally start hatching the Rex eggs. Unfortunately, 2 was not enough.
Hey, now is not the time, brother! What you said? I should have known that was gonna happen. I should have known that was going to happen.
So I crafted a third, but it was still not enough. At this point, I accepted I might need several more, and so I crafted more regular forges, placed them in the new build, and used the Dropbox to push all the remaining metal and some wood into them to get them cooking. While I waited for them to cook, things at my base got a bit weird.
Me and Bruce are getting in there.
Bruce, that's the good stuff, brother. I'm alive, Bruce. I'm alive.
Eventually, enough had cooked to craft a 4th aircon, and just like that, my eggs were finally hatching. So I went ahead and began hatching all 23 eggs my oviraptor had gathered so far, fully committing to the next phase in my plan. Of course, they would require cryopods, and when I went to grab some materials for crafting them, I noticed something a bit frustrating. I already had 400 metal just sitting in my smithy.
Oh my gosh, you know what I just saw? I have 428 metal in here. Are you kidding me? This is why it's important to have visual storage and everything ready so you know where your stuff is. Because I did not see this metal and I've been sitting here waiting to make aircons to get metal.
So I used it along with the other mats to craft up 23 cryopods, and still waiting on the eggs to hatch, I headed out to find a replacement Doit for the one I had drowned, but found nothing worth taming. The next day I found another pack of Doits, and for once there was actually a good one mixed in with all the trash. I grabbed it, hauled it back, and dropped it straight into the trap. With it secured, I went topside, fully expecting to deal with Rex hatching any second, and instead walked straight into disaster. Apparently it had gotten too cold overnight, and some of the weaker eggs had spoiled.
Oh, I lost 2 eggs and they were good ones. Oh no. Oh no. They lost incubation at some point and 2 of them must have spoiled, because there was 2 really good ones from the good parents that were close to being like, they were almost dead because the oviraptor didn't pick them up, and it looks like those 2 must have just spoiled. Oh my gosh, man. You think you know what you're doing, and you just don't.
The other eggs still had more time as well, so I went back to the bottom to repair my fabricated crossbow and used it to quickly pump 30 arrows into the Doit in record time. And then it was actually time for the eggs to hatch, and the results almost couldn't be better.
That's the 45 health, 45 health, 40. There we go. We got our male. We got our 45 health, 45 female Or 45 health, 45 melee male. Ooh, this one might, we're gonna look at these 2 males and see which one we want to keep.
With 2 male Rex who both got the stat combo, I chose the better looking of the 2, though looking back now, I probably should have just kept both.
Oh, you're the keeper. You are the keeper, my guy. Look at you, you're beautiful. You're beautiful, you're ugly. You're the keeper. You are our boss male Rex for the moment. Heck yeah, brother. Love to see it. Love to see it out of you.
And I also kept all the female Rex I got, as I'll use them for more breeding in the future. But before I would begin raising them, I went back to check on the Doit to find it was sleeping like a rock. With him out, I refocused on the Rex babies, calling any of the useless males, and after killing off only 2 of them, I already had another level, which got me to 89, meaning I could unlock the egg incubator for any future egg hatchings. And to end the day, I crafted a feeding trough I'll need for raising the baby X, and went out on a meat run to properly stock it, even successfully fighting off some revenants for the first time all the way on day 72. I started off the next day setting up that feeding trough in the baby area and filled it with all the raw meat I had gathered, and then pulled out all my baby Rex to begin raising them. In the middle of that, I suddenly remembered something important: the Doid. So I rushed out for a quick berry run and returned to feed it, fully expecting an instant tame after it had sat for so long, but unfortunately it did not tame right away. I was safe to leave it for the moment though, so I picked up the few visual storage bins I had already laid out and moved them up to my new base. I then crafted the rest of the visual storage containers I thought I would need to finish the playthrough, loaded my Argent up with all my spare materials, and spent the rest of the night setting up the new bins in my new base. Then came the exhilarating process of setting up the drop box for everything, and once the logistics portion was done, I used it to shift all my resources into their new designated storage spaces. And while doing this, I also moved what metal I had already cooked over as well. While I was juggling the storage situation, the new Doit had finally finished taming, so I scooped it up and named it Mentos. Next, I used my Anki to clear out the metal rocks that had spawned inside my cave, with the male Rex I was raising nearly ready for an imprint, and of course used the visual storage to move all the new metal to my multiple forges, with enough now cooking to make an industrial forge once it was done. Just as I finished sorting that out, the Rex was ready for its first imprint and only wanted an Amara berry, so I did a quick run outside to grab one and got the first imprint done. Of course, I also made sure to keep my other Rex breeding, as at this point I need to get as many females as possible, and started hatching the eggs right away. While they were going, I spent the remainder of the night doing another meat run to keep the trough stocked. I kept gathering meat into the next morning, only to come back and realize the eggs had stopped incubating again. One did make it though, but it was a male without the stat combo, and therefore completely useless. So I ignored him for now and focused on restocking the trough with meat, then moved over another load of cooked metal into storage, leaving me 500 bars short of the Indie Forge. As I finished doing that, the rest of the X eggs finished hatching, and this time I got 2 females for more breeding. I pulled them out to start raising them immediately, and then took the unlucky male outside to give it the old yeller treatment. And once baby raising was going smoothly, I headed back down to the beaver lake in hopes I would find the paste I needed for the forge. But having no luck finding dams, I took out everything in the area with hopes some would respawn in the future. Giving them some time to respawn, I went back home for another Rex imprint, and this time it wanted a simple Verdberry to get the job done. And while here, I decided I would go ahead and make the cementing paste the hard way, so I first had to go out to do a quick stone gathering run. I dumped it all back at base and started crafting the paste manually. Then, of course, while heading out for oil, I would spot none other than beaver dams already spawned in at the lake. And not just one, I found another shortly after, and after clearing out the beavers with my fox, I looted the dams, giving me all the paste I needed. So it was back to the next material I needed for the forge: oil. I started harvesting oil rocks in the river using my Anki, but it was pretty spread out and painfully slow, so I gave up and just gathered it by hand. After that, it was time to grind out some more polymer when Helena would decide it was a perfect time for some more yapping, completely drowning out the sound of a Yudi sneaking up on me.
I couldn't hear the Yudi because she wouldn't shut her mouth. Yep, that's unfortunate.
I lost it eventually and returned to polymer harvesting until I finally had enough. Back at base, I unloaded everything and checked the forges, and all the metal was finally cooked, meaning I finally had everything I needed to craft the industrial forge. I placed it down at the start of the next day and naturally headed straight back out to gather more metal, staying out for some time till my boss male Rex was ready for another imprint. While home, I dumped all the raw metal into the industrial forge to get it cooking, and it was straight back out for another massive run, thinking ahead of ammo production I'll need for the boss fight that will require a
ton of metal. I would stay out gathering into the next day, fully committed to the metal grind now that the industrial forge was online. What started as a routine run turned into something way bigger. The metal trail would pull me north, and right near the entrance of what looked like a cave, I spotted a beehive. At this point, it was far too late to do anything with it though, so after checking it out briefly, I pushed in a little further and realized the cave opened into a narrow crack in the mountain, and inside the crack was a ton of rich metal veins. I spent a long time just clearing metal out of that crack and then expanded outward, stripping in the top of the mountains as well. The more I explored, the better it got. This might honestly be one of the best metal spots on the entire map, and it would actually make for a really great base location as well. Eventually I headed home absolutely overloaded, carrying more metal than I realistically knew what to do with. When I unloaded everything, the numbers were almost stupid. 31,000 raw metal. It literally filled the industrial forge. As the next day began, I was doing my second to last Rex imprint and then went out to gather more light posts for more electronics. Next, I swung back by the beaver lake, hoping a few more dams had been built, but there were none. So instead, I gathered oil from the rocks in the lake, then followed the river upstream, gathering even more. While I was out, I grabbed polymer until my sickle broke, and then headed home to repair it, and while home, I also remembered the paste I had made earlier. And with materials finally lining up, I set my sights on the next major upgrade, the chemistry bench. I crafted 100 spark powder, then built and placed the chem bench down at base. And to finish the day, I made a run into the corrupted zone near my base to gather even more polymer. Once I had enough poly, I returned home to craft an egg incubator to improve my egg hatching, and wasted no time destroying the air cons to make room for the new upgrade. With that upgrade in place, I added a new smithy to the base and crafted a few fridges. Before placing them though, I added an actual entry point below the stairs where my generator was hidden, placed the fridges in there, and then moved my few perishables up from the bin below. Then it happened. The first boss Rex was ready for its final imprint, one last interaction, and it hit 100%. Next, I headed back out to harvest more polymer, then returned home and crafted an industrial cooker, along with a water tank and intake, something I probably should have done days ago. Regardless, I dropped the intake down in the cave, got a clean drink of water, hid the tank alongside the generator, and placed the cooker over by the forge. And with the base nearly complete, I decided I won a few vaults, even though I have basically no loot. Of course, I needed paste, and instead of checking the beaver dams again, I just used my new chem bench and quickly cranked out 300 paste in no time. With it, I crafted a pair of vaults and added them in with the rest of the storage. Then I gathered what generously could be described as my micro amount of loot and moved all of it into one of the new vaults. Then I moved my bed up top inside the room with the generator and cryopotted all my small tames from the cave below, clearing space for what was about to become the most cursed construction project yet. I began crafting a good number of thatch foundations that I would lay out to act as a breeding platform for all my female Rex to stand on. Then I added some pillars, ceilings, and ramps to create another platform above it. At this point, the first batch of baby Rex had fully grown into adults, so I positioned the male Rex atop the platform and then moved one of the females into the place below it and tested to make sure they could mate. With that confirmed, I moved the rest of the females into place, effectively creating a T-Rex mating tree. Then I brought the oviraptor over to pick up the eggs and set them all to mate. And then I just stood there watching all the action until they eventually dropped the eggs, and I quickly grabbed them off the oviraptor. With that done, I dumped a bunch of levels into my weaker Rex, planning ahead to use them for taking on outposts. Then came the real work. Using the incubator, I started checking my Rex eggs for stats. The rules were simple. I would keep anything with 45-45 or 45-50 health in melee. I would keep all the females, and everything else would be disposed of. After sorting through them all, the unfortunate reality set in. I only managed to get 6 true boss fighters out of the entire batch.
We have 6 boss fighters so far, if you count the one that only has 40 melee. So right now, not looking amazing. we need a lot of luck on the next pull.
So while waiting on them to hatch, I crafted a new fabricated crossbow and headed out to look for a good theory worth taming, crafting trank arrows as I searched. While searching, I stumbled on a 130 UD and decided I would try trapping it for the tame. But unfortunately, the first attempt did not go smoothly. I tried again, and again I messed it up. And being on the side of the mountain, it just wasn't going to happen. So I took the hint and headed home, when on the way I would spot something very important, an alpha revenant.
There's an alpha right there. Oh, I have to take him out. I have to take him out for his stuff. I actually have to kill him. Dude, that's such a big find. I actually have to take those guys out. And I heard they're actually hard to find. So to just see one right here that easily. Oh, that's sad.
I would have to come back for it though, as my eggs were ready to hatch, and with new babies to raise, I had to do another meat run to feed them. And while out doing the meat run, I spotted exactly what I needed, a high level Theory. So I rushed home to restock the trough of the meat I had gathered, and got the baby Rex out raising. And then I found the Theory again, baited it somewhere safer, and got it trapped with no issues. I quickly loaded it up with all the arrows it would take to knock it out, and just as I did, another nearby Theory came storming in, very upset with what it had just witnessed.
32, 33, 30, oh, 34, 35. All right, that's enough. Oh, brother! No. He's not very happy. Oh my gosh, where did that come from? Dude just came storming out of nowhere. It's level 85, okay. I was gonna say, what if it's a better level?
Once the Theory was down, I returned home to craft an elixir using Bruce, then went out gathering berries with Bug Basher. Using the narco berries, I quickly crafted narcotics using the chem bench to make it very easy. And once they were done, I picked up my medical stand and returned to set the Theory up on it to manage its torpor cleanly. I popped at the berries and the elixir, and the tame was underway. With that going, I used the snow owl to heal 2 of my already leveled Rex and went back to face off against the Alpha Revenant. The fight went much worse than I'd hoped. Messy, chaotic, and way closer than I was comfortable with, but in the end, we managed to kill it. And when the dust settled, I walked away with 2 brains and a nice reward.
Oh wait, no, it's right here, okay. Ooh, an Ascended crossbow. Nice. We got some flipping good loot out of it. Look at that. I mean, not amazing, would have been a lot better to, I probably should have done this a long time ago. We got our 2 brains, we got an Ascended crossbow that would have been amazing to have had like years ago. But hey, you know, we got it now, which is all that matters.
And to end the day, my last 2 of the original female babies finished raising as well. Of course, I immediately got those 2 new females breeding, and the Oviraptor had actually grabbed another 2 eggs from my other Rex as well. I started hatching the 4 eggs, checked the stats, and all of them were worth keeping. So while those went, I headed back out to hunt for another Alpha Revenant, thinking at the time I needed 5 brains for the Gamma boss fight. I found nothing though, and so I returned home to my eggs when I would be reminded that you can actually adjust the temperature on the egg incubator to make hatching eggs more efficient. Once they hatched, I cryopotted the new babies, setting them aside for a moment while I focused on imprinting on the ones that were already raising. But I was once again out of meat, so I cryoed them as well to keep them safe till I could get more food. I then used my snow owl to heal all my spare Rex, topping off their health before crafting saddles for any of the Rex that were still missing one, making sure they were ready for what comes next. Before heading out though, I noticed my Oviraptor had collected 2 more eggs with its grubby little hands, and when I slapped them in the incubator, they were both worthy additions. While those hatched, I headed into the city for the first time, looking for attack outposts I need to complete for Crimson Sigils, which I need for the boss fight. I found one fairly quickly on a bridge, which tend to be a bit problematic, but before I could decide what to do with it, another problem appeared in the form of revenants, including another alpha that I would take out for 2 more brains. From there, I continued searching for better outposts I could take on, but only found another one on another bridge, so I decided to take on the original one anyways, and things got a bit shaky.
Oh gosh. What the heck? Let's get this mounted. Can I mount my dang thing? What just dismounted me? Oh my gosh, I cannot mount my Rex. There, surely I can now, okay. Okay, what is going on that I keep getting dismounted? Where are the rest of my Rex? They must have all... Oh, there's a freaking chain bola.
Ultimately, I failed the outpost because my Rex and 2 of the enemies I needed to kill fell off the bridge to the land below. And this is exactly why you don't do outposts that are on bridges. At this point, it was time to return to fetch the Theory I had taming, and my Rex needed healing anyways. But on the way out, I did locate another outpost down on the ground that I might be able to take on later. Back at the now tamed Theory, I sealed it away in a cryo, and since I was already out here, I used my Rex to storm through the snow, gathering more meat for my baby Rex. When I returned home with the meat, I found even more Rex eggs had already been laid, but when I put these ones in the incubator, they were all letdowns. So I got the rest of the baby Rex back out to continue raising, and hatched the 2 new ones who had finished incubating while I was out doing battle. And to end the day, I named my new Theory Sticky Fingers.
Once the baby Rex were good to go, I headed back out to try my hand at some more outposts, this time choosing to do some of the small gamma defense outposts that give the aberrant sigils, the second type needed for the boss. Before getting the outpost started, I set up a few of my Rex on each of the entry points to defend against the waves of revenants, and it was time to get it started. As round 1 was getting ready to begin, I started off by placing a few material generators, figuring the first wave would be easy enough that I wouldn't need much to defend it. And sure enough, the first wave came and went easily enough, with the only real challenge being that one of the revenants was stuck under the ice, and I had to swim down and kill it with my crossbow. With the second wave, I added an auto turret and another generator, and again, this wave went really smooth, with again the only issue being revenants that were stuck under the ice. But the third wave is where things got interesting. Something that I wasn't expecting to spawn in did.
Oh, the turret did it. Oh wait, the outpost is taking damage. Oh no! The outpost is taking damage. What's hitting it? What got past? What? A Bronto! I thought these weren't on this difficulty! Oh, well, I'm screwed. I'm screwed. I thought these weren't on Gamma. Oh, we took it out. We took it out. The outpost is literally dead. 235 health left. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I thought the Brontos didn't come on Gamma.
So after dealing with the last few revenants that were alive, I used what points I had to heal my tower as much as I could, hoping I might just survive the fourth wave. The fourth wave brought 3 more Brontos, a giant Yudi, and a giant Theory, but thankfully the Brontos must have been weaker than the last one because I was able to quickly take them out. And once I took out the Yudi and the Theory, I completed the outpost. When the Theory fell, it dropped a key which I would use to unlock the chest in the middle of the outpost, causing it to spit out all kinds of great gear. But weirdly enough, I didn't get the sigils or the thrall I was supposed to get. I was very confused if it had glitched or if I had done something wrong, so I decided to just wait around until the timer had ran completely out, and when it did, the outpost was oddly considered complete. I got my thrall and the sigils I came for. Once I got back to base with my new loot and coworker, I named the thrall Carrie after one of my channel moderators. And while I was gone, the Rex I had on the tree had began getting real busy. My Oviraptor had collected a whole bunch of eggs, and when I started hatching them, 5 had good stats worth raising. So I let those begin, and while I did, the Rex that were already out were ready for another imprint. I got all those sorted, and by the time I was done, the newest eggs were ready to hatch. While waiting on those new babies to be trough ready, I used a combination of the medical stand and my snow owl to speed up the healing of my outpost conquering crew. And before heading back out to take on more, I checked my Oviraptor once more and found it carrying another egg that ended up having worthy stats. I left that egg hatching and headed out to take on more outposts the next morning, finding another Gamma one early on, but it was a large one and I wasn't sure I could complete it. Then a few minutes later, I found another small Gamma that was much more my speed. So I set up the Rex again and it was time to go. This one was much less eventful than the last one as no Brontos spawned in, and I used the same strategy of using material generators early on and then just loading up the outpost with turrets. When this one completed, I didn't get any remarkable loot, but I did get another thrall and much more importantly, more of the sigils I needed for the boss. I headed home and once there, I named this male thrall K9 after one of my channel members, and it was once again time for another imprint on my Rex. I got the last Rex imprinted as the next day began, and it was back out with all the Rex to continue raising them while I headed back out to continue the outpost grind. Before long, I found another small Gamma one, got the team set up, and after just a few short minutes, I was taking out the boss for the final wave to complete my third outpost, giving me 30 total aberrant sigils. And I had enough time left to probably complete one more before going back for imprints, but unfortunately I forgot to bring an extra cryo, so I had no choice but to scoop the thrall up and head home instead. Once I was there, I named my newest thrall Serenade after another of my channel moderators, quickly put all the raw meat my tames had gathered into the trough and extra fridge, and grabbed a few extra cryos so that this time I could hopefully stay out and complete multiple outposts. But as I went to head out, I noticed something tragic. My breeding tree of Rex had been scattered all along the cliffside.
That's probably when I was imprinting on the baby Rex and I told them follow me, and then I copied it all. I caused all my breeding Rex to fall. At this point though, don't even really care. Don't have time to care actually. With no time to waste on setting the Rex back up, I found a beta outpost that I likely couldn't complete, but I thought maybe I could start it and then leave the area to get it to despawn like OSDs do on Extinction. That way, new outposts could spawn in, but unfortunately, it didn't seem to despawn. Then near my base, I spotted another small beta outpost and figured the Gamma ones were going so smoothly that maybe I would actually have a shot at completing the easiest of the beta ones. But first, my Rex were nearly ready for another imprint, and I knew I wouldn't be able to finish the outpost in time, so I headed home to wait to imprint on them, but I didn't want to wait that long, so I just cryoed up all the baby Rex and grabbed a few extra of my old breeding females to provide a mate boost while I attempt the next outpost. I returned to the outpost, got all the Rex out, and it was time to begin. Of course, it didn't take long to realize this was going to be much more of a challenge, as the Revenants were just slipping right past my Rex and attacking the outpost, to include a moment where one of them got inside the outpost, and it was very difficult to attack it with giant Rex that can't get through the doors. I would eventually finish the first wave, but yeah, things were already looking rough as the outpost had already lost a ton of health. Wave 2 though actually went surprisingly well, as I set my Rex to aggressive and they managed to take out most of the Revenants as they got through, with the outpost losing barely any health. Wave 3 however did not go as well. We did survive, but the outpost was basically dead at this point. Still, I repaired it as much as I possibly could and then used the rest of the points to just set up distractions, hoping that I would at least be able to slow things down to allow my Rex to take them out. When the final wave spawned in a giant Rex, I tried focusing all my forces on it, knowing that if I took it out, it would actually complete the outpost. But there were so many other creatures in the way that I could not get to the Rex in time, and eventually enough things slipped through and destroyed the outpost. And to make matters worse, I lost a Rex in the process. So yeah, unfortunately this outpost did not go as planned. The step up from Gamma to Beta is actually quite insane, although if the Revenants just attacked the Rex instead of just running right past them, we probably could have managed it. No time to dwell on the loss though, I returned home down one Rex and got the babies back out to continue raising them. Next, I crafted a saddle for the Theory I tamed a few days ago, put all of its levels into delicate harvesting, and took it down to the safest aberration site to harvest organic polymer the proper way. With enough lining my pockets, I returned to base to get another imprint on my Rex, and then used the polymer to craft a stack of metal arrows, as well as a compound bow for a much needed improvement to my arsenal. With that, it was right back out for more outposts, and before long I had spotted another small Gamma one. It went super smooth, and before long I was taking down the final boss for its key. And when I opened the box, it of course had an even better compound bow.
Oh, look at that. Wow. I got a better compound bow. I mean, not a ton better, but a better compound bow after I literally just spent materials to craft one. That is hilarious.
With more time till the next imprint, I stayed searching for outposts and sure enough found another small Gamma nearby. This one would have a Bronto on the final wave, but we pushed it back without any issues, taking down the Theory at the same time and completing the outpost. I ejected the items and collected 10 more sigils. With pockets full of loot, I returned home to store everything away, named the female thrall Soap Goddess after another of my moderators, and the male was named Ogre after one of my channel members. And since I still had some time till the babies were ready for another imprint, I cleaned up all the Rex who had fallen out of the mountain and then returned topside to care for the babies once again. Imprinting on the Rex took me early into the next morning, but eventually I was getting them all out to continue raising, and it was back out for more outposts, starting with another small Gamma. At this point I had these down to a science, and after another smooth defense, I was bullying the Theory out into the tundra to complete yet another outpost. And when I dropped the loot, this one actually had a Rex saddle that could come in handy. Just next door was yet another small Gamma outpost, and yet again there really wasn't much worth mentioning. It went smoothly, and before long the Theory boss was down, and I was collecting more loot and sigils. And with my bat absolutely sweating under all the weight of the loot, I had no choice but to stop home and dump it all off. As the next day began, I immediately headed back out to continue the grind, and this time found a medium Gamma outpost, but at this point I figured I had to give it a shot. So it was out with the Rex and Spino, this time needing to split them up to defend 3 different entrances. And even though there were 2 extra waves, by the time I reached them, I had so many turrets set up that they basically just killed everything for me. It went just as smooth as the small ones, and before long it was complete. But apparently my wife was right. Size, in fact, does not matter.
It only gives 10? Doing a higher level doesn't give any more? Are you kidding me? Oh, well, that's just stupid. I just wasted extra time. I mean, hopefully I got better gear, I would think.
On the plus side, it did give me something very interesting in the loot drops.
Wait, did I just get a cryo hospital? Hold on. Did I just get a cryo hospital? I just got a cryo hospital. Oh my gosh. Well, it requires tech power, so I can't use it anyways, but still, that's pretty funny.
From there, I returned to base to find that some of my boss wrecks had already finished raising, and so I cryoed them up so they could begin gaining passive levels, and then continued imprinting on the ones who were still raising. They were back out and raising the next morning, and I was back out to do another small gamma outpost.
That's definitely a small. That is small. Trust me, I know what small looks like, especially in that shape, and that is a small. They give out a much. This will be our second to last one. We just gotta find one more after this one.
This time though, things almost went terribly wrong, as the Rex had bullied the boss up the hill and so far that when I went to collect the key, the mission failed for a moment.
Oh my gosh, I literally was almost out of the mission area because of that. Wait. What the heck was that? Okay.
Thankfully, I was still able to get the loot. With only one more defense outpost to do, I found a large gamma nearby, but decided it wasn't worth the trouble or the time it would take. Thankfully, there was another gamma nearby, and this time, it was a small.
Nope, that's gamma. Oh, baby, this is our last one. This is our last defense outpost, and then we just gotta do all the attack ones on day 95.
So there I was, just about to start my final defense outpost, when what would show up? None other than my arch nemesis, the mana.
Oh my gosh, dude. Are you actually kidding me? Oh, it's gonna cause my Rex to just lose their minds, dude. I hate these things. Dude, screw you, brother. What an annoying creature. Bro, I hate these things. Like, it's a level of hatred that cannot possibly be captured with words.
Then, when I was just about to lose my cool, the mana just sorta got stuck floating in the air, making it easy to take it out.
Please don't get unstuck. Yes! Oh, you loser. You absolute loser. You reject. Oh, thank goodness.
So with the pest dealt with, I got my Rex back out, started the outpost, and with the exception of me getting bit by a snake and passing out...
Oh my gosh, I just got knocked out. Hilarious.
I finished the outpost with ease, grabbed the key, and that should make 100 of these sigils. I headed straight home and dumped off my gear, and I do in fact have all the defense sigils. Now I just need to collect all of the attack ones. While here, I found that a few more of my Rex were fully grown, so I cryoed those up to build levels, and got the final imprint on the remaining 5 Rex, meaning I no longer have to tend to them. But at this point, it was already nighttime, which would be a really bad time to do any attack post, so instead I suited up in my best armor, crafted a few metal shields, and grabbed some stone structures for making a Batman trap, which meant it would soon be time for Kitty Softpaws to finally shine. So I cryoed her up and headed into the city to scout for gamma attack posts I could do in the morning, and I found one right away. Then just a few hundred feet away, I found another one, and I was feeling very confident about my days ahead.
Ooh, there's another one right there. That one? Oh my gosh, there's 2 over here. Dude, this is actually great. Like, we should be able to do these pretty quick, I would think, right? Like, these should be relatively easy to just wipe out. Like, we should be able to do 2 of these fairly quickly, and then boom, we've got 2 done.
So while I waited for daylight, I began staging my Rex for the battle that was to come, when a Theory would show up to set things off way sooner than I had hoped.
Alright, I guess we're doing this thing.
And this outpost once again had ballista turrets that were waiting with chain bolas, and this time when they tied up my Rex, things did not go well for me.
Oh my gosh, I just got killed. I was not prepared to do that at all. Like, I was not intending on doing that. I just got roped into it by frickin'... Oh my gosh.
Rushing to salvage what I could, I spawned in at home and headed straight back out with my naked body pressed against my bat's back. Thankfully, my mana was on the edge of the city and I was able to get right back to it and back into the fight, until eventually I destroyed the last structure and the Thrall Forge Master spawned in to try burning us alive.
Come on! Yes! We actually did it!
But I managed to take him down, and the outpost was defeated. I was able to get the sigils, of course, but I only managed to grab one handful of loot before more thralls showed up to drive me off. When I returned home, my gear was all looking a bit rough, so it was down in my little cave to scoop up some pearls, and while down here, I put some levels into all the other old breeding wrecks, figuring I was gonna need them for the remaining outposts. Then I returned topside to repair my gear, and while up here I crafted some saddles for some of my female wrecks before using my snow owl to heal my mana up some, as it was now nighttime, and I wanted to go back into the city to try getting the attention of a Batman. I tried setting up the trap on one of the bridges, but some nearby revenant got involved and it was already too late. The bat was on us. So after a few attempts to get the trap down, I decided to just pick it up, but it had been damaged and I was unable to scoop it up. Instead, I went back home and grabbed some replacement pieces, but despite killing off some thralls to make a ruckus, I was unable to find the bat again. So I headed home and arrived just in time to see my final Rex finish raising. Then, as I began trying to get my damaged Rex out to heal them back up, the Batman showed up. He had apparently followed me all the way home, but after some maneuvering, I managed to bait him into my old drop trap and sealed him in with some ceilings. It was now Kitty Softpaw's turn to shine. Take that, you bum! You're so stupid! Now you're gonna die! Cause old Kitty Softpaw's got something for you, pal. It's called bleed damage. Using a combo of her bleed attack and my bow, I took the bat down, giving me my first 2 horns. With him dealt with, I returned to my previous task of stacking up my Rex into another breed formation, but this time I used it to heal them all with my owl. And by the time they were all healed, it was already night again, but now knowing the bat will follow me to the ends of the earth, I set up the drop trap on the safety of the bridge near my base. Before I could get one to hunt me though, I first had to kill off a few straggling thralls to get my stack back up to 50 and trigger the Batman hunt. Once it was hunting me, I returned to the trap and waited for it to dive bomb its face straight into my shield, and then just walked it slowly into the trap and locked it inside to begin killing it off with my Thyla. Now I wasn't sure what it would walk into, so I built the entrance too high with a gate, and eventually it got stuck up in the too high section. Thankfully, I still had walls on my hotbar that I could use to swap out the already placed walls with door frames, and it actually worked out great as the bat was sort of stuck in this upper section, making it even easier to kill it with a Thyla. And when it went down, it gave me some nice new boots to go along with the horns. Then once it was daytime again, I headed back into the city where I would find another Gamma attack outpost, but it was somewhat hard to approach it when everyone in the area hates you. Eventually, I cleared out a little spot where I could begin staging my Rex, and the fight was underway. But holy crap, this one was way harder than I expected, as creature after creature kept dropping in from above to take on my Rex army. Things were going terribly, and eventually I had no choice but to jump off my Rex and run for my life, as the outpost leader had spawned in with his trusty Osidon. I managed to slip away and mount up on my mana, but my Rex were left behind to die one after another. So I went home and shifted focus, queuing up 12 new Rex saddles to begin crafting before returning to the city to entice another Batman to follow me back to the bridge, where I would first watch as he swooped in and drug my innocent fox companion off into the distance before returning to attack me, leading to him being trapped. I of course chewed it down with my Thyla, and it gave me a slightly better bow and the last horns I needed. From there, I returned to my base and moved my best male Rex on top of the breeding platform, followed by all my boss females in below to create a new breeding tree, mainly to get some backup eggs in case things go terribly wrong, as I'll likely need to use these Rex for future outposts. I got them all making love, and before long I was collecting the 11 eggs off my OV Raptor. When I popped them in the incubator, 8 of them had at least 45 points in both melee and health, with a handful having the 45-50 combo. Next, I crafted some advanced sniper bullets to go along with a rifle I'd gotten out of an outpost, and then leveled some of my boss Rex as best as I could. Healed them all with my owl, and cryoed my best male and female Rex with plans to test out if 2 of them would be capable of taking down an outpost on a bridge. But first, before attempting it, I wanted to clear my wanted level some by taking out revenants. Once it was down some, I found another Gamma outpost on a bridge, and while they are buggy, they are also much easier than the ones down in the city. I actually managed to finish the outpost without too much stress, but when the boss spawned in as a guy flying on a Desmodus, I knew I had a pretty slim chance of actually killing him. Then when another Batman showed up and scooped me off my Rex, I knew for sure there was no chance this was happening. I was forced to flee to my mana again, but of course I would then get fear roared straight off the bridge and into the city. Thankfully, I survived and returned to pick up my Rex as well, when a Spino would teleport in and my mana would jump away like an absolute coward, leaving me to run for my life, sure I was gonna die, when I would find a nice little corner to hide in and my mana would come to the rescue, saving me just in time. So yeah, day 100 is officially over, and well, this may be my biggest failure of any 100 days challenge I've done. Not only have I not done the boss, but honestly I think I'm still another 12 or so days away from even being able to attempt it, which looking back now, if I didn't spend 12 days doing building stuff, I might have been on track to complete the boss in time. So where does that leave us? Well, I could make this video 115 days or whatever it would take me, but honestly, there is still a ton of other stuff I want to do on the map, like actually taming some of the map-specific creatures. So this is not the end of the challenge, it's just the first half. We will be back with 200 days of Lost Colony, defeating the Gamma boss, taming all the things we haven't, and hopefully taking on even higher difficulties.
So if you enjoyed this one, please do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss the second half. And also don't forget to use my Raid Shadow Legends link in the description or pinned comment, or by scanning the QR code on your screen to get insane bonuses for new players. With all of that said, I want to say thank you all so much for checking out this video, and until next time, keep it crispy.